Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, you just do the organizational, do the notice, you know, the do what? Yeah, I'll do all that first.
The time, date, and location of this meeting was published in the Asbury Park Press and posted on the bulletin board in the office of the Township of Lakewood at least 48 hours in advance. The public has the right to attend this meeting, and minutes of this meeting will be available for public inspection. This meeting meets the criteria of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Okay, now we'll do the swearing in of the new members.
We're going to start with swearing in of our new members, beginning with our Class 2 member one-year appointment to December 31st, 2017, which is Mr. Justin Flansbaum.
You know, we can do everybody together,
Everybody
and I'll do the oath together.
We're also swearing in Mayor's designee, Miss Angela Zabrafas, for a one-year term. Also a Class 3 member appointment for Isaac Ackerman, and a Class 4 member four-year appointment for Mr. Israel Brumberger, who's not here. We'll have to swear him in later. He'll be here at about 6:30. And last, our planning board alternate, Mr. Eugene Cotillo.
Okay, well, all the members who are taking their position this year, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay, I
Justin Flansbaum,
do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the state of New Jersey,
of the United States and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established
the governments established
in the United States and this state,
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties of the office of a member of the Lakewood Planning Board
all of the duties of the office of Lakewood Planning Board,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
that I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment,
for preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
or to seek personal gain,
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage,
not available to the general public,
not available to the general public.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to our new members, some familiar faces up here to some of you, I'm sure. I will take nominations for acting chairman.
I'll make a motion to appoint Phil Hertel as chairman of the board.
Second, third.
Chairman by the whole board.
And I'll take a roll call on that, starting with Mr. Ackerman.
Yes.
Mr. Grafos, is that correct? Thank you. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
I abstain? Yes. At least you didn't say no. Yes.
Mr. Flansbaum? Mr. Fallman?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Cotillo?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll let Mr. Herzl take over for nominations for vice chair.
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Ellie Renner as vice chair.
Second, third.
Roll call. Roll call.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Grafos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Fallman?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Cotillo?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we're going to go into closed session now to, well, the secretary and the...
I guess,
Attorney, secretary, and engineer, attorney, planner, and engineer, and
Closed session.
I think you could do secretary, recording secretary without closed section. We don't
Okay.
usually do
Okay, so do I have a motion for the secretary? No, I need a motion for somebody to vote for him. Yeah, for Ally. Do we have a second? For
Second.
Ally Morris?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
it. Mr. Ackerman?
Yes, fine.
Mr.
I'll
Grafos?
vote first.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Of course.
Mr. Flansbaum?
Absolutely.
Mr. Fallman?
Yeah.
Mr. Renner? Mr. Cotillo?
Yes.
Thank you. recording secretary.
Recording secretary?
Sarah Forsythe.
Make a motion, Sarah Forsythe to be recording secretary.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graffos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson? Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbaum?
Yes.
Mr. Folman?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Cotillo?
Okay, do we need a motion to go into closed session?
Just before we do that, just for the edification of the members of the public, there was Ray Coles, the mayor, it's his, the appointments to the planning board or his appointment, and the mayor can unilaterally make appointments to the planning board. And I believe with Mr. Cotillo and Mr. Flankbaum today, Mayor Coles made those appointments. That was relayed to me by the attorney, Steve Seacare, for the borough, and as well as the mayor himself. So I think there were, that was an oversight or some kind of issue at the, not an issue, but an oversight at the organizational meeting, but it is the mayor's appointment, and I was advised directly by the mayor that he made those appointments today. Okay, so there's no confusion. You're not class 4, you're class 2. Okay? And you, Mr. Capello, you are the
Need to use
alternate.
the mic.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Come.
Yeah, let's hold on.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go into closed session right now.
What will be discussed?
Selection of attorney, planner, and engineer for 2017.
Yeah, so you have to make a motion to go into closed session. The purpose of the closed session discussion is to make those appointments. So is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, go into closed session for that purpose.
When will be open to the public, whatever you discuss?
When we come out.
Slim, I'll tell you after.
Thank you.
Slim, I'll tell you after
We'll be
everything.
back.
Trying to say something?
There's an extra seat here now since I'm moving.
Can I have a motion to bring the meeting back to order?
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
Second.
Roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we went back, we have to appoint right now the planning board engineer and the planning board planner. We went through all the bids and we would like to have back Remington, Vernick, and Vina for the engineer and planner. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion.
And a second? All in favor?
Okay, it's a, can we, yeah,
we
it's very
please-
important that everybody keep quiet, please. Yes, you can do all in favor. We can't,
Okay, for the planning board attorney, we would like to have Mr. King, Kitrick, and Jackson.
I'll make a motion.
second.
All in favor? Okay, now, this year we'll have a new thing. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. This year we're going to also nominate a conflict attorney, Dasty, Murphy, and McCoggin.
I'll make
We
a
have a-
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for our wonderful staff that we have, Mr. Jackson, Terry, and Ali. Lakewood, very lucky to have you all.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I may, instead of doing this in closed session, I thought it would be just as well to do it outside. Based on a meeting that I had on Organization Day with the mayor and municipal attorney and the Board of Adjustment attorney, Mr. Dassey, and Mr. Vogt was there, there was suggestions regarding our procedure, and I was asked if I had any input regarding ways that we could possibly make the planning board more user-friendly to the public. As you know, we've had some instances where members of the public have come out to the meetings and have been frustrated because they've taken time off from their lives, they've hired experts, and they've sat in the audience till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night to have their case adjourned, and then to have to come back, and then that process has happened a couple times, again and again. And I think there's some concern that we could maybe make our process a little more friendly to the public. So what my recommendation is to this board is that it adopts a procedure as is practiced in most other towns, where you have a technical review committee meeting that's not before the board at all. No board members would be present at it. It would be with the board attorney, the board engineer, and the administrator,
Ali.
Morris. And that would be the purpose of advancing things, giving administrative waivers, which are really engineering issues. And the concept of that is that your professionals should know the board well enough at those meetings to say these plans have to be changed to show the following, like things like sidewalks, buffers, protection, or it's just too big, or we're not going to do flag lots, et cetera, and have that in the context of a technical review committee meeting, so that when the plan comes before the board, it's already been scrutinized at a meeting with the board's professionals.
Mr. Jackson, why do we need then the plan review by the
Well, we
planning
would
board?
not have a plan review then.
Then we'll go straight to, we'll have one meeting at the
Right,
planning
and
board.
when a matter is listed, it's public hearing. And-
Same as the zoning board.
Same as, I don't know how the zoning board does it.
Yeah, they have one meeting.
That would just be the one meeting then, and I think that would prevent people from having to come out twice. It would also probably be better for applicants in some ways, and it would certainly take some time, the board would have to put less time into that might free us up to have more time to get to our busy agenda. So those are one of the recommendations that I would make. I know I've spoken to several members individually and Mr. Vogt, and I think the consensus seems to be that we should go in that direction.
I think to clarify, Mr. Jackson and I have spoken briefly about this as well, and I believe the intent is to stick essentially with the schedule that we've typically had for applications. We'll just be holding the plan review meeting with the professionals during the day on the Tuesday of the first meeting of the month that we used to hold. Mr. Jackson's initial concerns were that given the volume of applications before the board and the backup that we've had, we may still want to hold 2 public hearings per month, still have those 2 meetings, but each application will only essentially go to 1 unless they're carried or tabled for whatever reason. So the board would still be meeting most likely twice a month, unless the schedule clears up and there's no need for that first meeting of the month.
Twice a month will be,
I have a question on it. On a lot of the engineer reports, there's always, at the end of a paragraph, something isn't ready, subject to your passing it, we'll draw it. I'd like to see that stop.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you well enough. Can you pull your mic down
Yeah, the
and
mic
just
is
reiterate
on.
that?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
On a lot of the engineers' reports, at the end of the sentence, this has not been drawn, but if you pass it, we'll draw it. I'd like to see that stop. If it isn't a complete drawing and a complete set of plans, it shouldn't come to the planning board. This technical committee that you're going to appoint should make sure that these things are there, that we don't ever see this again from the engineer.
That is, Mr. Franklin, I think that's a very good observation. I think a lot of times you come in and the board's requested to use too much of its imagination as to what the plans will be or won't be, and you're saying, I want to see it.
Exactly, because once we approve it, even though the engineer goes back and fills all these things in, we never see it again. So we don't know what the finished product was.
So you'll, right, if we're doing our job properly, and this will take, some, we'll go to the hearing and the board will say, no, why are you showing us these plans? It's not quite ready. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think you're right. Now, some of that will always happen, because the board might impose some changes, like, you make a parking spot.
Well, they'll change it and get it back to us, and then we'll vote on it.
Mrs. Jackson, I think that application, if it's missing parking or sidewalks, it shouldn't be deemed complete,
Right.
right? It shouldn't be deemed complete.
I think Mr. Vogt and I and Ms. Morris have enough experience with this board where we know what you want and what you don't want. And I know
There's some,
sidewalks-
variances, we may give a little, but the parking, sidewalks, I think it's a given on every application.
But the purpose behind this is to have more finished plans before the board, so they're better, a more complete project that have already been reviewed, have already been scrutinized, have already been the subject of a discussion. And that'll free up time, and also the public won't have to come out twice.
The only thing is that not necessarily we'll finish an application that night. We have an opposing attorney, and there's a lot of people speaking against it,
Right, which I think is why it will be helpful to still have the first Tuesday meeting of the month,
right?
because anything that was not finished at the public hearing on the second Tuesday of the month, we can schedule for that 2 weeks later for the following planning board meeting that used to be a tech meeting, and use that to catch up on anything that's being dragged out.
So we have curfew 9 o'clock technically, right? So we're not,
And
Okay.
another thing, I mean, when I was talking to you, John, about this idea, which I like this idea, the application is not going to be deemed complete until it passes the tech review meeting. So the clock
Right.
doesn't start ticking. We don't really have to worry about it. And then
You have to be careful about that, Ellie, if I can. What happens is an application can be deemed complete. We may have something as part of the packet that says it's a drainage design. It may be an incomplete drainage design, it may be an infeasible drainage design, but the fact that we have a drainage design makes it complete. So you need to be careful. I hear what John's saying, and I agree with what John's saying. We have a similar process that I've used in years in Woodridge Township, where they have a TRC. John's actually worked up there a couple times. And an application doesn't leave the TRC until everyone's comfortable that it's ready to go to the board. And that may be something, if we get something that's just bad, It may be complete, but it just doesn't work. Maybe it needs to come back to TRC again, or to the workshop again. Make sure it's right, and then go to public.
You know, John can then have on his checklist that they have to meet with DPW before it comes to the public.
That's a great opportunity,
Yeah, it definitely, it is so important.
yeah.
You know, to know what's gonna happen with your garbage. You're gonna have cans, you're gonna have dumpsters.
Yeah.
You know, how are we gonna pick it up? There's a
That's
lot of
important.
things. How are we gonna do the snow plow?
As you know, drainage
Your
is
cul-de-sacs have too many driveways, you don't have any place to put the snow. There's a lot of things to look at there, public
Yeah.
works.
Al, we're making your job a little hard.
Not at all.
Yeah.
These
Easier
are
on
the types,
us.
these are the types of things that should be taken care of before it comes to the public hearing. And just to clarify also, it may or may not take one public hearing. In other words, we might have to have two public hearings.
Right.
It's just because you went through the technical review committee doesn't mean that you're just gonna get automatically approved at the public hearing.
Absolutely.
That's not what it means either, so I just wanna clarify that.
absolutely-
It may
It's just
take
gonna
2
clear
meetings.
it up. It's gonna
Right.
clear it up.
That just means that it's a technical condition to go in front of the board. The board still may not like it. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely,
Right.
that's true. And the reason why the board members would not go to the technical review committee meeting is so that they're removed from that process. So you're looking at the presentation and your decision is entirely based on the testimony that comes from that microphone right there and your review of the plans. And, you know, just to underscore the fact that all decisions are made solely based on what's in front of the board at the public hearing.
But an applicant will have an idea if it's gonna, which direction it's going after meeting the committee.
Well, not which direction it's going in so much, but at least they know that
To a point. you
they
know,
have a lot,
To a point.
of
If
the
we're doing
details.
our job properly, I think our signal is it's ready, and, you know, the board is ultimately the decision maker on this, but, you know, I wouldn't signal one way or another what I thought about an application.
If they need any kind of variance relief or any kind of design relief,
They'll hear it
that's
from
going
you.
to be subject to the board. That's not going to be subject to workshop.
Okay, so,
But Terry, you know which variances the board gives and which one they don't give.
But Terry doesn't vote.
I
They're still
understand.
they're gonna have to come and make their case here.
Yeah, no
Right.
variances or waivers gonna be discussed at this technical review. So
They can
it's
be
technical
discussed,
review,
it's
that's
not
what it
binding.
is, technical review.
How do we get Terry to vote?
name is voted, but
Terry's busy enough, thank you.
We need him there.
Chairman, with your permission, I'll take a formal roll call now that we
Yeah.
have our board
Okay, roll call.
established.
And confirmation recording status also.
Wait,
Is it on?
Thank you.
I'm not gonna be here by the roll call, because I gotta go.
You're gonna come back to the next meeting?
But I may come back to the next meeting. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I was supposed to be with family out to my daughter's 8th birthday party, and I gave her the conclusion. So I'm going now.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
thank you, committee members.
You're welcome.
Mr. Graffos. Here. Mr. Franklin.
Here.
Mr. Hipperson.
Here.
Mr. Flansbaum.
Yes.
Mr. Herzl.
Here.
Mr. Renner.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
And Mr. Cotillo.
I just wanted to thank Angela Zagrafos for coming back to the planning board, for agreeing to be the mayor's designee this year, and for coming back. I think Mr. Coles did a great job with his pick.
Swearing in of professionals.
State your full name for the record, please. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give here this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, plan review items. Ali.
Under plan review, application SD 2181 is made by Cedarwood Hills Homeowners Association. It's a major subdivision to create two lots from one on Flattery Avenue and Quick Check Drive. I'll let Terry go through any waivers that may be.
Yeah.
Submission waivers, Chairman.
Yes.
Page 2 of our letter, submission waivers have been requested, including topo contours and features within 2 feet, shade trees, EIS, tree protection, soil erosion sediment control, and drainage calculations. We support these waivers on the basis that they were previously addressed as part of the prior larger application.
All the waivers.
Correct.
Do you have a motion to accept?
Second.
Okay, roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Terry, is there any variances?
We have variances that are with the current application, including minimum lot area and width on proposed lot 2101, as well as a design waiver for a non-radial lot line, which is common. We'll have Brian testify as to these various
Plenary, thank you, Terry. This is a plan review.
Oh, plan review. The application is indicated is for an open space lot on the end of Flannery Avenue, out by Quick Check. And currently, the Quick Check entrance comes through the, that open space property. So this is an application to make things better. I've indicated on the other map, the driveway comes through, and what we're going to do is create a lot that will, the lot will be consolidated with Quick Check, so Quick Check will have a bigger lot, and the open space will just be the open space, rather than the homeowners being responsible for the whole thing and having some sort of implied liability on people coming in and out. And what happened during the process, and you had developers, you had boards, you had Quick Check, originally it was anticipated that Flannery would go out. And if Flannery went out, then this was just a driveway coming in. A lot of people wanted Flannery to go out, but it's not happening. So when the county changed our design for us, we ended up with this configuration. And this is really an application that was put forth by the applicant to make it better for everybody.
Which is the undersized lot?
The undersized lot is the pink lot, which includes the driveway. That'll be consolidated with the bigger lot. So we would expect that consolidation to be a condition of approval, and then once it's approved and consolidated with the big lot, there's no more variance. The only comment I would have is the RVV report has some comments about where the line should be, and they want to move it a little, and maybe their ideas are good, and maybe they're not. But we have a homeowners association and a Quick Check company that have agreed on this line. So we'll go back to them. We would like ultimately the approval to be the way it was submitted, but we'll go back to them if there's a better way to do it and they both agree, we'll do it. Otherwise, if we can't do it, leaving it the way it is not the correct solution.
You're the attorney for this application?
Yes, Samuel Brown, appearing on behalf of the applicant. I really have nothing to add to what Brian has already presented to you. Obviously, I would like to welcome the new members and congratulate the new chairman, vice chairman, and so forth. But as Brian indicated, this is simply a realignment of lines to make things better. Quick Check has agreed to take title to the parcel that we're discussing here. The application is subject to their taking title, and other than that, I don't think there's anything to elaborate upon.
Any board members have any questions? Ali, when is the date?
Our public hearing is February 21st with revised plans by January 19th.
Set February 21st? Okay, do I have a motion to move it to the February 21st meeting?
Move.
Roll call?
Mrs. Zagrafos?
Yes.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Cotillo?
Yes.
Public advisor will want to counteract the
What?
Association has been advanced to February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock, including all those numbers and
Thank you.
Our next application is SB 2207, made by 36 Airport Road LLC. It's a major site plan for an addition to an existing office building located on Airport Road.
Terry? Let's go over the variances.
Under submission waivers, Chairman, they're requesting a waiver of the IRS, which we're okay with on the basis that the property was previously developed.
We have a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendation.
Second.
Roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then under
And the zone-
zoning, there is a pre-existing non-conformance with respect to lot area. The applicant is seeking relief for sign area as well, and design waivers, including providing sidewalk on project frontage, as well as shade trees along the project frontage.
Okay, Mrs. Weinstein.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the chairman.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, especially Ms., one second, she changed her name on us.
She got married.
I know. Angela. I was going to say, I'd like to welcome Angela back. Nice to see you back here with a different last name.
Vice Chairman, Vice Chairman.
And the vice chairman. I didn't get there yet.
Okay.
And the vice chairman. And congratulations to all the other members as well. Just to tell you a little bit about this application, then I will really turn it over to Graham. The board may recall, though, that this was an application that we recently had approved, the second office building that's on this site. At this point, this is going to be a phased approval for a second-story addition on that newer building, the one that this board approved a couple years back. And then once that's done, the second phase of this would be to demolish the older building, which is 40 Airport Road, and to replace that with a 3-story building above parking. But Graham, I'll turn over to you.
Yes, as Miriam indicated, the project would propose the addition of a second story to the building number 36, which is the one that the board approved a couple years back. Demolition of the existing number 40, which has existed for quite some time and is outdated. And construction of a 3-story portion, which is the shaded portion you see on the site plan.
Okay. Any questions from any board members?
How big is the current building now?
The
Shaded portion?
The existing building is about 15,000 square foot. The existing building,
floor?
36. Is that
Which-
the question?
How many stories?
One. But
The
Mr. Furman, there are 2 existing buildings. I think Graham just clarify which.
Shaded one.
Well,
The
that's a
shaded-
proposed
The shaded
one.
portion is proposed. That would be a 3-story building.
What's there now?
What's there now is the existing number 40 building, which was the first building on site, the smaller building on site, which is approximately 6,000 square feet
How
or
many
so.
floors?
One.
It's a single story.
Yes.
There currently are 2 single-story buildings on the property, which I think would answer your question.
Correct.
We're proposing to replace that with, well, essentially, part of the building will be 2 stories and how many square feet are going to be 2 stories?
Yes. Again, over the existing number 36, that would be a 2-story building, which will have a total floor area of about 30,000 square feet. And then the addition, again, the portion that's shaded on our building will be a 3-story portion with a floor area of about 9,000 square feet, so 18,000 square feet in total, plus or minus.
How many
there.
parking spaces do you have for that?
We have 174 parking spaces on site, so we do satisfy ordinance requirements.
How much is required?
145 spaces are required by ordinance.
That's after the improvement?
Yes. Yes.
The red number of handicap spaces was 8%, and that's supposed to be.
We have the, right now, we have 4 handicap parking spaces, 6 handicap spaces, which is in accordance with ADA requirements.
It does be?
It's basically 1 per 25. Yes.
I thought it was 8% of the total.
No, it's basically 1 per 25.
Ellie, are we on the 21st on this
Yes,
one?
please, February 21st, revised plans are January 19th.
Do I have a motion to move it to the February 21st?
So moved.
Roll call, or all,
Kraft? Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner? Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Patillo?
first question will be. All right.
Publicly advised, we're still on the calendar, SB 2007, 36 Airport Road, LLC, is advanced to be heard on February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock. This meeting, although no further notice.
Okay, number 3.
Next application is SD 2182, made by BBC Capital Group LLC. It's a minor subdivision to create 2 lots for 1 on Central Ave.
Mrs. Weinstein? Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Variance is requested, include minimum lot area, the minimum lot width.
Okay, Mrs. Weinstein?
There are no issues.
I did receive a call from someone in opposition. I advised that this is a tech meeting. It looked like a minor application. I anticipated they may request to open to public, but given that there are neighbors, I'm not sure that's the best course of action.
Can we go open to the public at the end of the meeting? right? That's a public portion of right to speak.
I just meant for this application, if you were gonna consider doing it.
No, I didn't.
I would not recommend.
No, not with that position.
To be honest, we weren't even going to request it.
Okay.
So we actually had planned on this being just a technical hearing. Even though this is a minor subdivision approval, being that there are variances, we're going to follow protocol and do this in 2 meetings. Essentially, the applicant is requesting that a 150 by 150 lot on the corner of Kimball and Central Avenue be subdivided into 2 lots, each of which would be 11,250 square feet in the R12 zone. In the R12 zone, 90 feet is required for lot width, so the applicant is requesting 75 feet on the width for each of those lots.
And it's also too small.
Yeah, I said that.
12,000 square
No, I
feet.
said that, right. It's 11,250 square feet. In the R12 zone, 12,000 square feet are required. So those would...
Those are the 2 variances.
Those are the
yes.
variances. I can turn over to Glenn if the board has any issues they want to discuss.
You have anything to add to it?
Anything in the...
No, we'll be ready to present the case next meeting.
Are you ready for February 21st to address?
Yes.
Okay, anybody from the public who would like to be heard on this application, there'll be, after the meeting, there'll be a public portion, you can speak. If not, you can come back February 21st, if it gets advanced, and then anybody could speak.
I just have a quick question. What does the area look like? This mic? This mic or this mic? It's not open.
This is.
This is a plan review.
This is a technical plan review hearing, so it's not.
I said it'll be open to the public after the meeting, by the public portion. Everybody can speak.
What does the area look like? Do you have a per-cal map?
No, I did not bring that tonight. There's a lot of, there's a number of 50-foot wide lots in the area with houses on them.
have
We'll
a chance to
present that
speak.
at the next meeting.
So you will have a map showing the whole area?
Yes.
Okay.
There are a lot of undersized lots, that's what you feel.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else from the board would like to be heard? Have any questions? Okay, we have a motion to move it to February 21st. Second. Have a second. Roll call.
Mr. Graffos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hibberson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Cotillo?
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson.
Public advisor on the agree on tonight's plan review calendar, ST 2182, the application of DPC Capital Group LLC, to advance to February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock. This meeting will be in person.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Grunberger, who was our designee last year and was appointed to a 4-year seat this year, has arrived. And Mr. Jackson,
I administered the oath just a moment ago. There will be forms that everyone will have to sign when we're on file, so we'll get those to you next time. But everyone has been placed on your oath. Congratulations.
Anybody who's here on the last application will have a chance to speak as soon as we finish the meeting. There's a public portion, you can speak.
next application is SB 2213, made by Congregation Newstead. It's a major site plan for a house of worship located on East County Line Road.
Okay, Terry, would you like to go over the waivers?
Yes. As indicated in our letter, Chairman, waivers.
Wait, excuse me, sir.
Get him to sit down, Mr.
Can
Chairman.
everybody please sit down, find a seat? If you're not gonna sit, you can go outside.
They have microphones,
they
gotta use them.
And please be quiet. Take your conversations outside, please.
People complaining are part of the problem. We'll do our part, you have to do yours. Under waivers, waivers sought include topography, contours, and man-made features within 200 feet, EIS and tree protection management. We recommend granting the B waiver since we have enough information on the plans. Again, we recommend waiver of the EIS since the site is previously developed. And finally, we recommend tree protection waiver for completeness only, with the understanding that if the project is approved, they will have to document compliance with the tree protection ordinance during site plan compliance.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendation?
Second.
Roll call. All in favor? Okay, Terry, could you go over the variances?
Under zoning, variances are being sought to including minimal lot area, lot width, rear yard setback, side yard setback, combined side yard setback, number of off-street parking. There's a variance required for parking within 5 feet of a property line, and the relief is also necessary with respect to perimeter buffer.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Mr. Brown?
Samuel Brown appearing on behalf of the applicant. Again, good evening. I'm going to turn it over to Brian to explain the need for the variances that we're requesting and the reason that at this preliminary level you should understand why they are warranted and that this matter be moved forward to the public hearing.
Well, the first couple variances are due to the existing lot, the lot area, the lot width. And then we have a shul that we're proposing for the lot. It's at the public hearing, we'll provide the justification for the setbacks, and the board will get the input from the neighbors. The technical comments, we will respond to Terry's report and be prepared for presenting the application at the public hearing.
How many parking spaces do you have?
There's seven parking spaces that are required, that are provided. 14 are required, which include the parking for the Simca Hall. At the public hearing, we're trying to secure an off-site location for the parking for the Simca Hall. Obviously, at the public hearing, we know that if we don't have enough parking for the hall, then we're not going to get the use approved for the hall.
Without the hall, you have enough parking
Without the hall, we have
on-site?
enough parking
On-site?
based on the size of the sanctuary.
On-site?
Yes,
On-site,
on-site.
yes, sir.
Okay, because on County Line, there's nowhere to park.
Yes.
And how would we be assured that your off-site parking is always going to be there for this central?
Well, that's something that we would have to satisfy the board at the public
What do you
hearing.
plan on doing? I'm just curious. I need to think about it.
Well, you can do that with a 99-year lease. You can do that with purchasing property. Or we could come back and say,
And how is the board going to be assured that you're not going to sell the property and that you're not going to break the lease?
Deed restricted.
it would be deed restriction.
So we could put
And
a deed
yes,
restriction on the file now?
and it's been done before. And the applicant's trying to do that. The worst-case situation is we'll say, don't approve any Simca Hall, just approve the shul, and we'll come back at such time as we have something to show, because the Simca Hall isn't going to work without the parking anyway.
And so you have 14 on-site parking spaces?
We have 7 on-site, 6 are required for the shul.
How's a minion going to get there? They're going to walk?
And at the public hearing, we will show you, the applicant has shown a radius of a quarter mile around, how many people are there. We'll provide that testimony at the public hearing.
They all live walking distance to the
Yes.
synagogue.
With not just walking distance, but within a quarter of a mile. Again, it's premature to present that testimony. The point is that the board will be satisfied that there is sufficient support for the application, and otherwise we will drop the parts of the application that are not supported by either parking or whatever other circumstances exist on the property. We're not looking to ram 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound bag. We understand that the site needs to work, both for the approval aspect of it and also for the use aspect of it. If it doesn't work in real life, then we're going to have no use of what we're coming here to try to accomplish.
My concern is people parking on County Line.
Your concern is perfectly warranted and justified. There is no parking on County Line, and it will not work under any circumstance that I can think of. So we're going to have to show you that we have parking within a reasonable distance that actually does work and is secured, and as you've indicated, is guaranteed to an extent so that the board can be comfortable.
I recommend you try to work out with the neighbors.
We
because
are,
it's a
and
good
we're
asset
working
for
on
us.
several options. By the time we get back here, we will have something to present to you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from board members?
Well, what is on the side of this building? What's currently on the side?
The,
You have it in that, right?
yes. Wawa.
Okay, and on the other side?
The other side is there's a house, it used to be Gavin Construction, North Apple Street.
And what kind of house? Is it new construction, like this house next door?
The house next door, no, that's an older house.
Okay, and you want to talk with the neighbor? Do they?
The applicant has talked with the neighbor, and we will provide all that testimony at the public hearing.
And to the rear, there's also a rear yard setback you're asking for. Have you
Yes,
spoken with them?
and the applicant has spoken to that neighbor as well, and we will address that at the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion to move it to February 21st. Move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next.
Members publicly advised number 4 on tonight's meeting calendar, SB 2213, congregation. This debt has been advanced to be heard on February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock. Please call the roll.
Thank you.
Plans when, Ally?
January 19th, please. Next application is SP 2218, Lakewood Shopping Village LLC. It's a major site plan and minor subdivision for a shopping center on Avenue of the States.
Hey, Terry, would you like to go over the report?
Yeah, talking about waivers, first, Chairman, we have waivers listed, including plans and profiles of utility layouts, EIS and tree protection management. We recommend a waiver for hearing purposes. The site's already been looked at pretty rigorously as part of the CAFR permit process, which I'm sure the applicant is going to testify to. And anything that we require additional with respect to final utility layouts, we can deal with in compliance if approval is granted.
We have a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendation.
Move.
Second. All in favor?
I'd like to
Okay.
talk about variances.
Yes, please.
As part of the current application, variances are sought with respect to the off-street parking setback. Setback is 6 feet from Avenue of the States versus 20 feet as per the UDO requirement, as well as variance sought with respect to loading spaces in front yard, and also design waivers would be necessary, including curbing along the Pine Street frontage, street trees along the Pine Street frontage, as well as a shade tree and utilities along Pine Street and Boulevard and Roberta frontages.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Michael J. Gross, law firm of Giordano, Halloran, and Cecil, representing the applicant. Mr. Flannery is going to explain the application of the variances, but first I'd like to say that we recognize that there are concerns in the area by the neighbors with respect to traffic. Mr. Kennel is our traffic expert. He will have a full traffic report submitted by the required submission date, number one. And number two, we plan to meet with the neighbors, with Mr. Kennel, to try to explain to them what we're going to do with respect to traffic and to hear their concerns and try to address their concerns. So I thought I'd say that up front. So Mr. Flannery, will you please proceed?
Is the 21st enough time for you to meet all the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Flannery, please.
The application is for 13 retail buildings on a 48-acre site. It's being done in 2 phases. The property is in the Cedar Bridge Development Tract on the corner of Pine Street and Avenue of the States. As indicated, there are a couple small variances that are being asked for, and at the public hearing, we'll show you the justification for those variances. One relates to loading spaces, and when you look at the design, that's the appropriate space for the loading spaces. And the one with the parking, in order to accommodate extra room in front of the buildings, the parking was moved back. We're providing 877 parking spaces, more than required by ordinance.
And in all this acreage, you couldn't figure out how to do it without any variances?
What's the question?
In all this acreage, you couldn't figure out how to do it without?
Well, we
these
can
variances?
do it without the variances, and it's not as good a job. And
You have more space, isn't there? Just
but the front of this building has a 30-foot wide concrete area. So we're short 14 feet. We could reduce that down. It's not as good a project. And at the public hearing, we'll show you that. And if the board says you'd rather have that be 16 feet and make the 20 feet, we'll change the plans to do it. I think when you see the presentation at the public hearing, you'll agree that in this particular location, if we did that on Pine Street, where we were infringing on our neighbors, it'd be a different story. This is on the Avenue of the States, where you're near the stadium, you're near all the other development.
Brian, technically, you can make this a variance-free application.
We could make it a variance-free application. It would not be as good a project.
Okay.
What other uses are permitted there? No. Do you know offhand?
I could.
You don't have the list, right?
I don't have the list.
Present that when you do your testimony, what the
What the uses will be.
alternatives would
Yes.
be.
Yep.
And you said you're over, you have 800 parkings?
We're 877 parking spaces. We're exceeding the ordinance standard. And this also requires a minor subdivision, and I think they were listed both under the same item on the agenda, and the minor subdivision is de minimis.
I would like to hear, if possible, how the Pine Street traffic is going to be addressed.
Well,
Have a traffic engineer.
this is a permitted use, so.
No, I just want to know how Pine Street traffic will be, I know it's permitted.
Well, the traffic's going to be addressed because we have entrances out onto Avenue Estates.
How is the traffic on Pine Street going to be addressed?
Are you adding another couple of lanes onto Pine Street?
No, we're not, but if you, when the traffic report is submitted and you see the capacity of Pine Street and you see the impact of this, there's actually traffic benefits to this in that people don't have to drive to the other side of town to shop. They don't have to, there's shopping and employment opportunities in this location, and all of those details get addressed in the traffic report, which we've indicated will be submitted in advance of the public
When will I
hearing.
get a copy of the traffic report?
Excuse me, may I say one thing on behalf of Pine River Valley Homeowners Association?
1 second, no.
You'll get your chance.
What, she's an attorney?
She's an attorney.
I'm an
Okay.
attorney.
Counsel, could you make your appearance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I'm with Lieberman and Blecker. It's a law firm in Princeton. We represent Pine River Village and Somerset Walk. We have many of our residents with us tonight.
Stand up.
Yes, please.
Stand up, please.
Brittany DeBoard. DEBORD.
You know, sir, one of the things we can't have is we can't have someone in the front orchestrating like a group response. It's just improper decorum for this board. Please respect our procedure, and we'll make every effort to respect your opposition.
Understood.
So please, it's a two-way street, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. And asking everybody to stand up, it's improper for the board to consider that, and it's very disruptive. So please
Okay,
respect the
well,
board,
only happened
and
once.
we'll respect it. I'm sorry, Brittany, you said your first name, what's your last name?
It's DeBoard, DEBORD.
Thank you. Okay, if you could just let Mr. Gross finish.
Yes.
And then we'll get-
If the board has no any other questions,
Oh, I had a question. I just
Sure.
want to know how the Pine Street traffic is going to be addressed. Oh, no, you said we're going to submit a traffic report. When am I going to see that? When am I going to see that?
well, if it's scheduled for the 21st, then you'll see it before the 19th.
The
Of January.
regulations require that it's submitted 10 days in advance of the hearing.
It'll be 2 weeks in advance of the hearing.
least.
At least 2 weeks.
At least 2
Al,
weeks.
At least 2 weeks in advance of the hearing.
Request, I know you sent us the plans.
January 19th is the date I requested revised plans and all of that documentation for the other ones.
Could you send us the traffic report too, not just the plans? Thank you for the plans that you sent.
Yes, I can scan the traffic report in and email it.
Thank you
Yes,
very much, it
that's
helps a
your
lot.
question.
Yes, okay, thanks. So we can have it for 19. Okay,
All right.
are you finished?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Miss-
counsel, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah,
Gross?
Mrs. Board?
Right, or-
Please.
Yes, I didn't know that there was any dialogue in
Well, we
these
just
meetings.
said that you can address the board.
As a courtesy to the attorney, we'll allow her
Okay.
to address the board for.
We're not going to let the
Thank you. Well, as you can tell, our clients are very concerned about the traffic issue, and I would just like to put on the record that we would very much like to be part of the discussion in terms of traffic calming methods, proposing things that would ensure the safety of our residents, which is in everyone's priority as far as we're concerned. And we look forward to being part of these discussions. As soon as you get the traffic report, Ms. Morris, if you could pass that along to us. And I would just like to say, we look forward to working with you. We don't oppose this development. We're just very concerned about the traffic, as you can tell.
Right, I would,
I think Mr. Gross said before.
suggest that you make a meeting, if you'd like Mr. Vogt to participate in that, we can have it here at Town Hall, and this is exactly the type of thing we'd like to try to have, so.
Yes, of
If
course.
you could schedule that meeting, Mr. Vogt, I'm sure you would make yourself
Excuse
available.
me, a meeting for what? I didn't understand.
Between the
Your
attorneys.
council requested a meeting to try to have a dialogue to see if there's some
For the
mutual
public-
areas
for
where.
The public will have a portion
No,
by
the
the,
public would not be part of that.
And I mean,
by the
we
public
had
meeting.
proposed a meeting, and we're glad to have Mr. Vogt as part of that meeting.
okay.
I mean, as I said initially, we recognize that there's a traffic issue, and we would love to resolve it before the February
We'll sit down
21st.
with our opposing attorney.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I want your traffic report, I'm telling you what I'm gonna be looking for. Your traffic report has to address that there's currently it currently takes to drive down Pine Street. You probably sit in traffic during busy times, 25 minutes, okay? Now, you add one car to Pine Street, that's one car that can't handle. So something has to be done to Pine Street in order for this development to move forward and to have any outflow onto Pine Street.
Mr. Vogt just indicated to me that he doesn't think it's appropriate for the board.
That's fine.
To be involved in meetings. So meet amongst yourselves, and, hopefully you'll be able to narrow the issues down.
Sure.
Thank you.
In other applications, we were looking for revised plans by January 19th, but given that we're also trying to coordinate a meeting and the plans may need to be revised to reflect that, I would go with the following week. I think that still gives enough time to get revised plans and the traffic study completed, and then still gives Mr. Vogt time to review those revised plans before the public hearing.
Right, we'd really like to meet with the homeowners before we submit a final traffic report, so that we can incorporate, suggestions that they make that we agree with.
When should we advance
So
this
we're
to?
looking for, we'll still be looking at the February 21st public hearing, but we're looking for revised plans January 26th. And then if we have difficulties in there, we may have some leeway to take them a little later depending on Mr. Vogt's schedule. But if we can't accommodate that, we'll have to carry to a future public hearing after that.
February 21st and the
February
revised
21st
plans,
meeting, revised plans by January 26th.
January 26th.
Right, and we'll provide the traffic report by then also.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if we ever do this. Could Remington review the report as well and give us an opinion on it?
Yes.
Okay, because I'd like to see something.
Okay, we'll have them.
All those in favor of advancing this to February 21st, 2017?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Opposed? Members of the public
Thank you.
advise SB 2218, the application of Lakewood Shopping Village LLC has been advanced on February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock. This meeting hall. There will be no further notice. At that hearing, that's the actual public hearing. At that time, members of the public will have the opportunity to question the applicant's witnesses, present their own testimony, call their own experts, and/or make comments. So that's a chance for the public to participate and say something. Thank you.
Let's wait 1 minute while everybody leaves.
The board is going to hold just for a minute so that members of the public who were here to see that application or maybe having a side conversation can step
Please
out
take,
and then
all right, take conversations outside.
thank you.
Ellie,
Next
yes,
application is
please.
SC 2183, made by Vice Rivka Rochelle. It's a major subdivision to create 5 lots from 1 on 4th Street. You may recognize the site. There was a previous denial by the board on this site. I believe the applicant is confident they have tweaked the plans enough to satisfy some of the board's concerns and the reason for the denial. I believe Mr. Fecker has indicated they're also looking for a combined plan review and public hearing. Given that there are variances on the application, that is of course always at the discretion of the board.
This is a new application.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations
And,
to you and everybody else.
I would like to, Terry, first go through the waivers
Yeah, sure.
before.
I can summarize waivers, Chairman. The waivers are sought, including EIS, tree protection management, and range design calculations. We support the EIS waiver due to the developed nature of the site. Tree protection management can be waived for hearing purposes only, with the understanding that if approval is granted, the applicant will have the document compliance during site plan compliance. And finally, under drainage design calculations, we're okay for hearing purposes, with the understanding that This is not major development by definition. However, if approved again, we're going to require some recalculations at minimum to document that there are no drainage defects.
We have a motion to go along with the recommendation from the engineer.
Move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, waive the variances.
Continuing along under zoning, variances are necessary with regard to the proposed front stagger of two of the lots, rear yard setback for lot 4.02, rear yard setback for townhomes 4.03 through 4.05, as well as side yard setback for townhome on proposed lot 4.03.
So, Mr. Chairman, so with regard to both the variances and the res judicata issue, which I'd like to address first on the record, I've spoken with the applicant. We are agreeing to remove all variances. We are making this a variance-free application. The variances we were seeking, again, we felt were minor in nature, but that's why I feel that even though we are removing the variances, I still would like, as they are minor, and you can check with Mr. Vogt, I would still request that we do this under one application, in the sense that we had come before the board not that long ago with the application.
Apparently, there's another hearing going on outside.
I think it's more of a listing.
I think
John, could we listen to this?
Can we get somebody to? Yeah, please. Can we get somebody to quiet down in the hallway?
I think so. I think about what I said.
I think that was the public portion.
Adam, I just think that you have a whole bunch of variances, you're taking it over. I think we have to see a new plan for that.
If you feel we have to see the new plan, again, I'm not going to argue with the board. I am stating that they are very
We just wait a minute. I can't hear what's going on outside. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Can't hear you. I think John should.
I just think we need to hire police to throw people out. They talk.
John, your karate came in handy.
I'm glad you reappointed me.
Okay, John, the applicant's asking for one meeting.
Yes.
He has a whole bunch of variances, which he said, but give us a new plan,
So,
taking over all the variances.
we have no problem, we will submit a new plan, we will just ask, we believe we can get this into Ally by Friday, as there are minor changes, we would just ask if that's okay. We're fine living with the review letter, we do not need a new review letter, we're agreeing with everything that's in there that Terry has requested.
Submit revised plans, Mr. Vogt will look at it, and he'll determine whether a review letter is necessary. It might just be a sentence that says it's fully complying, it might not.
If we don't need a full review letter, that'll be fine.
Okay.
But as far as res judicata, I spoke to Mr. Pfeffer right before the meeting. If it has no variance, and the previous one did, I would say that's a material difference. And,
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
And we have to see the plans.
Yes.
Absolutely, they have to approve.
Okay.
Keep in mind, 10 days before the 17th is the 7th, so I would need them this week.
Yes, that's, we understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what was the date on that?
January 17th, is that our meeting?
Any questions for any board members, for the applicant? We have a motion to move it to January 17th.
Second.
Roll call.
Very minor,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Members of the public be advised, SD 2183, the application of Bias Rivka Rochelle, and it's been advanced to January 17, 2017, 6 o'clock, this meeting hall, there will be no further notice.
Thank you very
Please
much.
close the door over there. We cannot hear. Number 7.
Application SD 2186 made by Pinchos Wall Peddler. It's a minor subdivision to create 3 lots from 2 on East 11th Street.
Okay, Terry, would you like to go over? There's no waivers, I see.
East 11th or East 7th? East 7th Street or 11th Street?
Did I say East 11th?
Yes.
It's East 7th.
I don't know why I read 11th, it is East 7th.
That's okay. Just make
Okay, so Terry, would you like to go over the variances?
Sure, under zoning, lot width variance is being requested for lot 134.05. No side yard setback variance is being requested, lot 134.05. Combined yard setback also requested, lot 134.05. Minimum lot width variance is required for duplex for lots 134.06 and 07. Side yard setback variances are also requested for those two properties. I believe that is the variance.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Glenn?
We've reviewed,
Basically, you have a lot of variances on this application.
yes, we do.
Why? You know, this is an uphill battle on this one. This is not. Why?
We're
No,
getting
sorry,
your-
go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really,
Yeah,
if you're, to
That's
get
its
your
only
input on it. I
clarity
mean,
now.
we don't have any problem with Terry's technical comments.
I just
It's,
get-
it's the
The
variances.
first thing I want to ask, we need a Perkel map showing the whole area over there.
I'll be honest, from my perspective, it doesn't really matter to me what's in the area.
Okay.
This is,
Understood.
yeah, I mean, you know,
No, I understand. We will bring a Percal map to the public hearing. We understand your point of view.
There's a lot of variances, so you got to be ready for it.
I understand.
If you take, it's two lots, right? If you keep it as two, is there any variances then?
Well, if we just leave them as the existing two lots.
How many lots are there and how many houses do you want to build over there?
Currently, it's two lots which was subdivided, and the map was just filed 6 months ago.
Right.
There's one existing house on the whole piece of property that would be demolished for that application if it went through, or this one. So we're
You want to
just,
demolish one house and build two houses?
and build a duplex and a single
You
family.
want to build a duplex and a single?
Correct.
And if you had built two singles, would you have any variances?
Probably lot width.
Or you still have variances?
Yes, it's a narrow, deep, the reason why we have a lot of the variances for setbacks, and all, it is a narrow, deep lot, which I would go over at the next planning board hearing.
So you don't have any variances on lot area?
We have one lot area variance.
You do have lot area too?
Yes, we do.
not, you
You
can't.
can, right by the public.
Are you the applicant?
I'm the applicant.
Oh, you're the applicant, okay, you're the applicant.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I misread Terry's comment. We do not have any lot area variances. It's the
So it's an
setbacks and the
irregular shaped
lot width.
It's long and narrow.
Yes. It's about 110 feet wide, and it's 250 to 260 feet deep. So they're very deep, narrow lots.
And identify yourself for the record.
All right, okay, I'm Pinchas Wall Handler.
You're the owner of the property.
I'm the owner of the property.
Okay.
It's located on East 7th Street. It's an unusually large lot. In other words, it's 250 feet deep. The duplex that we're putting up is has full 12,000 square feet. They're still gonna have 75-foot backyards after their house. And we're just trying to put in a duplex and a single. And we're just asking, so on one side,
On the duplex, you also need a variance on the width.
we need a lot width variances, we need, but not lot area.
I'm sorry, Mr. Walheimer, either for you or your professional, all my paperwork says that it is currently 2 lots. You both keep referencing 1 lot, but it is currently 2 lots, correct?
It's currently 2 lots, because the previous owner is subdivided for a duplex, exactly. It's,
And they want to make 1 duplex lot and 1 single family lot. 3 houses, okay.
and, would it make a difference if we take off, let's say, some of the variances, like,
Everything, when you have a lot of variances, the board, we don't like to give so many variances.
Okay.
Whatever you can take off before you come back, it will be a big help.
okay, thank you.
When is this for?
February 21st,
Okay, do we have a motion to move this to February 21st?
revised plans by January 19th.
We have a motion? Okay. All in favor?
No. Yeah, I said
They
no.
have- okay, I'll do the roll call then. I'll do the roll call, let's do the roll call. Yes.
Mr. Renner abstained. Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
On matters that are routine and they're going to be
And we have two more.
unanimous, we can do roll call.
Mr. Grunberger
Yes, no problem.
and Mr. Patillo.
I apologize.
So the only thing is on the waivers, we can do all in favor?
Yeah, you can do all in favor on anything where your sense is that it will be unanimous. If it's not unanimous, then
Okay, so
we should-
Realistically, in the future, you won't be carrying from a tech to a public anyway. That'll be done by the
Right.
professionals at the tech meetings.
And a regular meeting has to be done with a regular roll call. Okay.
I mean, the way that will work at the tech meetings is, Ally will continue to determine it's ready and assign a date.
Right, so they would need to roll call all in favor. You'll actually roll call for all.
Please be quiet in the audience.
All right, so anyway, we're on, number, SB 2186, it shows Wallinger, and that's been advanced to what date?
February 21st.
2/21, February 21st. Members of the public, be advised, number 7 on tonight's plenary review calendar, SB 2186, Pinchos Wallinger, has been advanced. We heard on February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock, this meeting hall. There will be no further notice.
And next,
Next
number 8.
application is SB 2220 by Pine Holdings LLC, it's a major site plan for a daycare on Pine Street.
Okay, Harry, would you like to go, let's see, any, we have waivers first?
We have one waiver, Chairman, as indicated in our letter. Waiver of an EIS has been requested. It should be noted that the property is subject to a CAFR permit, which is referenced in the letter. We support the waiver with the understanding that the permit condition with respect to the conservation restriction easement can be applied. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have a motion to go along with the engineer's recommendations?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. And zoning, the variances?
And again, under relief, as indicated in our letter, it looks like the project exceeds the township impervious coverage. We'd like to have input on that as well. Again, this was also subject to CAFR permit.
That's correct.
That's it?
We also have variances with respect to parking spaces, with regard to providing off-street loading, unloading, front yard parking setback, side yard off-street parking setback, as well as off-street parking relative to Pine Street. And design waivers are going to be necessary with respect to landscape buffer to adjacent lot 4, from providing sidewalks along Boulevard Burns frontage, and from providing curbing along the Pine Street frontage.
Good evening. Yeah,
So good,
I think
Good
Terry, in the
evening.
future, the variance is gonna be much less.
So good-
It won't be deemed complete.
good evening, Mr. Chairman, Adam Faverton, on behalf of the
Again,
applicant.
you have to be careful with that. They have the right to be heard.
Okay.
The answer can very easily be no, but I can't stop them because
To,
they're
to
asking
come down to the board
believe I
and
can-
present the case.
They can
Okay.
come here and get the board's input. The reality is.
Good evening,
they
Mr.
get
Chairman.
approval.
Adam, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I believe I could address many of those issues. Some of the issues were raised in Terry's letter. We are in the midst of correcting a lot of these variances. You're not going to see a lot of them as you see is for the parking. It's a matter of some setbacks and some tweaking of the location, but you will not be seeing many of those. There are more than some of these issues that were raised in Terry's letter that we're in the process of working through. We understand the board's concern. This will be as close to a fully conforming application, if not a fully conforming application, when you see it at the next hearing.
Try to get it. Full
Yeah, and again, if you hear a lot of the comments are with regard to the location of some of those setbacks for the parking, and we'll address any variances that can't be moved as to why they are. The application is for a 80,000 square foot building.
What is it, a shopping center?
No,
Office building.
it's a two-story, I'm sorry, it's a
Pine Street.
It's a four-story building. Sorry, it's a four-story building.
Where's it located? Pine and where?
Pine between New Hampshire and Avenue of the States. It's just east of Pine River Village.
You don't have a fourth floor plan.
The fourth floor is exactly the same as the third floor.
Didn't say that.
I understand. We'll have the architect.
You're gonna have
look at it.
revised
But that is-
architectural
That is
plans.
what, they are the same.
Any variances on any parking?
We do not, we don't need a parking variance for the number of parking spaces, but as Adam pointed out, we do have some setbacks where we're a little too close to
If
the
that,
property.
Adam said you'll try to get rid of
Yes,
the
we're
water
gonna try,
variances.
we have, currently, they proposed 254 parking spaces.
Simcha Hall?
I'm sorry, you were saying?
Simcha Hall?
No,
No Simcha Hall.
it's not a, it's a daycare center, it's not a school.
Yeah.
If you would like one, I mean,
Fill up the parking spaces in there.
Hey, guys, talking about the parking, we did have a comment in our review that it wasn't clear that you do comply.
we will address, we'll make sure with the revised plans that we comply.
I think, I've heard some questions repeated, just with questions regarding the size of the daycare. It seems like there are a number of classrooms. It seems like a very large daycare. If you want to maybe address that in the public hearing as well.
We will. Again, I don't know if the architecturals were the final per rooms. The intent right now is it's a 4-story building. 2 of those stories are gonna be used for the daycare and probably some accessory office uses with that, but we will address that at the public
And the
hearing.
daycare would not be serviced by buses or need anything to
No,
accommodate
it
that?
actually is gonna be servicing all the office buildings that are being created. And actually, some of this will help ease traffic flow because as opposed to parents having to drop off their kids at other locations in town, they'd be able to come to work in one car, drop off their child and pick them up when they leave for work.
I like this idea.
What's currently at the site? Vacant land?
Vacant land, yes. And again, the key point here is that a lot of this will be servicing the other office buildings.
And to Mr. Franklin's point earlier, and to our point with the TRC, this is, this seems to be the type of issue where plans really are not complete yet. And, maybe we don't give you a date at this point until the plans are actually in hand, because what happens so many times, you come here and then they're still inadequate. So,
We would ask at this time that we get a new date. However, we understand that we won't get heard if our plans are not.
The problem is then it puts the board in an awkward position, and the public's been notified and they come out, and that's where people get frustrated. So we're really trying to enforce a circumstance where we don't go forward until we have everything. And on a site plan, we need architecturals as evidenced by the question of the board.
Do we have any architectural?
Yes, you do have one. Yes.
But Mr. Vogt says they're inadequate.
It's not that they're inadequate, they're not complete with regard to all necessary detail.
And
Mr. Pfeffer
that's
says
the
not
point of
accurate
this
either.
technical hearing, and we understand, we're hearing the comments, and we will have them
I'm
revised.
not trying to, make you the first example or whatever, but I'm just, let the word go out that, when we go to these meetings, unless we're satisfied that it's fully complete, we're not going to go forward. I'm not trying to come down on you.
My biggest concern, and the only thing I want to see addressed on this plan is the dropping off and the picking up, and how that's gonna work.
Traffic on
No
Pine
one-
Street.
Understood, we
Well,
will have that
well, this
addressed.
building is gonna service the surrounding buildings, so.
There's be a lot of cars coming in.
We will address all of that at the public, that's, we're hearing you, what your feedback, what you want to hear, and we will make sure we have those answers at the public hearing.
Okay, so you might want to have a conversation with Mr. Vogt prior to the public hearing, 10 days before, to make sure he has everything he needs to give a fair and full report to the board.
I enjoy my conversations with Terry very much, so.
Adam, do you want to redo your plans?
No, I would ask now that if the board doesn't object, that we move forward to the next hearing, and that we know what changes have to be made to the architecturals. We understand that going forward for the rest of the year, that the plans have to be much more tighter, and you want to see less issues. But at this point, we want to show, obviously, the 4th floor. We need to see how the pickup and drop-off is gonna be addressed.
And we'd like to see all the
exactly,
variances.
and the interior of all the rooms. Again, the architectural, the floor plan isn't gonna change in terms of.
Variances will change.
That has to do with parking. That architectural wouldn't have any issue. We will have those resubmitted in time for a public hearing.
Terry, what do you feel? We should get new plans?
I think at this point, I think they should be given the opportunity. Now, if it comes back in February and the board is not satisfied with what they're looking at, they can always continue the hearing.
And we understand that, it's on
They're not
us.
compelled to act.
When could you have revised plans?
Well, when do they do by?
January 26th,
You'll have them by January
You
26th?
have it, Trent?
that I gave the other big project.
Yeah, January 26th is no problem.
then the board members, Ali sends it to us, we can see it beforehand.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I'm just curious, do you have any ideas how you would work the pick up and drop off, the pick up and drop off?
Well, there's a, it's not shown on your architectural plans. We talked about it. We didn't have time to add it. There's actually a canopied area on the south side of the building where people will be able to pull, parents will pull up, be able to drop their kids off, and they'll be brought into the school. There's also access from the Boulevard of the Americas side. So,
You will
the
show
way
it
we
all
have
on
the
the
driveways, you can pull in, pull back out. It's,
And to be very clear, this is not going to be busing. This is going to be individual cars. Again, so a parent taking, and most probably, sometimes parking in an actual parking spot, and taking their child out and going inside to drop them off, and then going back in and going to work, in the corporate park.
And I am concerned on Pine Street, it will generate a lot of traffic on Pine Street over there. People coming and going, dropping off the kids.
But again, I just want to be clear, this is to service, this is not, people coming there are coming already
Guys,
to
it needs
work.
to be quiet in the audience,
So-
I can't hear.
In general, this should alleviate overall traffic as opposed to them, the parents making a separate stop at another childcare facility. They're coming right to their place of work, dropping off their child.
But they're not coming internally, they're coming through Pine Street.
Or
It's not buildings adjacent to this.
or coming through Boulevard of America.
right, they could be coming in off New Hampshire. They could be coming in off Cedar Bridge. But now they're in the corporate campus.
Mania traffic.
Can I suggest in the future, on these types of applications, that we don't just have like a small map that we can't see in front of us, that we have
A blown up.
big picture of the area and the
Yes.
streets and because
We will
it's
provide
tough
an area-
to visualize like what's happening.
We will
with this little
provide-
map that you can't even see.
We'll
I know,
I believe-
Alan's
Eric-
got the nice big,
No, I
We'll-
understand we have that,
we'll-
but something,
Yes.
just a footprint of where the building's gonna be, where, so we could see what's going on.
Yes.
That's all.
And where is this building gonna be? Is it gonna be closer to Washington Street, or is it gonna be closer to?
It's really right in between Pine Street and Boulevard of the Americas.
Right across
yeah, Albert Avenue
So it's further down.
is right about,
Make sure the door's
right
closed.
about there.
Make sure the door's
On
closed.
on the east side of our property.
You know you have a button up there.
I know. That's it.
So again, we were requesting, we
You'll have
moved
revised plans by the 26th.
by January 26th, yes.
And we'll be on for the 21st. Okay. We have a motion to move it to February 21st.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Zagarski? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg? Yes. Mr. Cotillo?
So are we getting a traffic study with this one also? Yes. We are. Okay, and Remy, can you review our traffic study, please? Correct. Thank you. In regards to Pine Street in particular.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the public be advised that number 8 on tonight's plan review calendar, SP 2200 Pine Holdings LLC, has been advanced, will be heard on February 21st, 2017, 6 o'clock. This meeting hall, there will be no further business.
Okay, John, I forgot to do it before, but SB 2214 was advanced to the 17th. If you could announce it, if anybody's here on that.
I believe they're providing the notice, but I don't think there's parking.
Is anybody here on that application?
Probably not.
What date will that be advanced to?
January 17th.
Okay, so that's just being done administratively, so that's already noted. So if anyone's here tonight on SB 2214, that had already been advanced, or will be carried to January 17th, 2017. Now, is that for plan review, as it says in the thing? or
It
that-
is scheduled for plan review, but I know they'll be requesting combined
So if
plan.
anyone's here for that, there's a very good chance the board will take that as an actual public hearing.
It's application third to Memo of Lakewood. Okay, and now we go into public
We're
hearing.
moving to public hearing, application SB 2185 is made by Mark Properties LLC. It's a minor subdivision to create two lots from one located on Netherwood Drive. This is a public hearing, it's a fully conforming minor subdivision, as such did not have a tech meeting as is typical of the board for conforming minor subdivisions.
If I can just comment, Chairman.
Yeah, please. On the, any waivers?
Can you use the microphone?
Could we please be quiet in the back?
Okay, no waivers. Please take your conversations outside.
Please keep the door closed. Keep the door closed. Thank you.
The application is fully conforming, Chairman, however, as indicated, we don't have improvement plans, and based on that, it appears that the design waivers are going to be required, including improvements along Heatherwood Drive and Biltmore Avenue, curbing along project road frontages, sidewalk along project road frontages, street trees and lighting. The applicant may have testimony on this, but we can't review what we don't
Yes,
have.
how can we vote on something that we can't
Make a
review?
motion,
Well,
Yes, we're not
let's
gonna
hear from the applicant, are they
Yeah.
proposed or why? We don't have improvement plans.
Well,
can we listen to
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Franklin has a
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion. I'd like this tabled until the drawings are complete.
Okay.
Well,
Should we give the attorney
Yeah.
a
Well, you
chance?
have a motion, let me understand this. Mr. Franklin made a motion to table this matter because
It's not complete.
What, okay, so.
We have a second.
You have a second, so take a roll.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Zagrafos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner? Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
All right, now, do you,
Mr. Grunberger? And Mr. Cotillo?
okay, so that's been, adjourned indefinitely, right? Until complete. Now,
So
do you,
let
will
me
you
hear
give me a
what-
time waiver? The alternative to a time waiver is I'll advise the board to vote no, dismiss it without prejudice.
Well, I would really appreciate it if the board could at least hear us out.
Oh, it's not complete.
I understand that. Are we waiving
We
time?
voted already, that's it.
But we're not waiving time.
We already voted.
If you're not gonna waive time, my advice to the board is that if the applicant will not give a reasonable request for a time extension, the only alternative to the board is to deny the application without prejudice.
Can't we just carry it to a future date? And
Well,
we'll-
that's why I'm asking for a waiver, and.
if we can carry it to a date, rather than just say that we're carrying it indefinitely.
Okay,
I don't have the date of when it was deemed complete by me, so I don't know when our deadline to act.
How about if you give us a waiver till March 1st? Does that work? We'll try to get it in before that. As soon as you're complete, Ally will
I
put it
mean,
on the schedule.
realistically,
When do you
once
think
the
you'll be
plans are
complete?
submitted, I can still schedule to a tech meeting and then direct, the tech meetings are gonna be private in the future, and then the public hearing after that, as long as Terry's
It doesn't
satisfied.
need a tech meeting though, because it's a fully conforming minor subdivision.
I'm sorry, directly to.
So this should actually be able to go directly to public.
I don't understand something. We're doing, this is just a subdivision, and there's no building being
Right.
putting on the lot. So don't we a lot of times do the subdivision, and then when they come for the building, they then
That's,
put in the curb?
that's exactly what I wanted to say.
In this case, if the board were to grant waivers for improvements along any of those roads, when they come to build those houses before the engineering department with a plot plan, if the board had previously granted waivers, then those waivers are held, so.
Ally, we can't
Well, they would
grant
be held,
waivers,
and
we
they
don't
will not
know.
have to put in the sidewalk.
We weren't asking for
And they would not have to
But-
put in the
Correct.
sidewalk.
Right.
But Ally, we weren't requesting the waivers. We were just requesting minor subdivision
Been more
approval.
clear on that.
Really, we were only requesting minor subdivision approval with no construction.
All right, look, we can't have a group therapy session. Do we give a waiver to, Ms. Morris is usually very accommodating. I think the board's spoken, you'll get a short delay. We'll try to do everything we can to get it on track. Is that all right?
It's fine.
Take one for the team tonight. So we have a waiver for March 1st, and you'll submit it, and Ms. Morris will work with you to try to get it ready.
When do you think you can have it ready, the plan?
Well, they're not gonna submit plans because they're not putting
The
in
waivers,
sidewalks.
showing the improvements.
Well, we're going to revise the plans to say we're not constructing anything, and that we would agree to the construction of those improvements at the time somebody builds
Okay,
houses.
so you'll-
So all we're going to do is put a note on the plan, we can have that tomorrow.
And you're not gonna be asking for any waivers?
No,
That
no,
means you
the
agree whatever the
applicant,
township
when,
requires.
when somebody goes to build, they'll do what the township requires. And I think John indicated, or Ally indicated, that that just wasn't clear on the plans. If you had opened the applications, we would have made that clear. The plans can be changed tomorrow, so I think if the board could schedule us for actually schedule us for a meeting, we'll have plans in tomorrow.
Mr. Franklin was the one that made the motion. Is that okay with you? That sound
Yeah,
reasonable?
sure.
Okay, so what's the next date?
Well, you got the plan and the engineer makes recommendations, rather than having all these loose ends.
You can get the
That wasn't
plans in 10 days prior to the hearing.
It's the end of this, if you get plans at the end of this week, then you're looking at January 17th, it's only 2 weeks.
We have to make a motion to move it to January 17th?
Well, it's a conforming minor, which means it doesn't need notice, but Miriam's office provided notice, so maybe you want to find out why. Do they need it announced?
We
in the
do
calendar?
not, we did not need to provide notice, we just did in an abundance of caution. That was the only reason we sent out notices. But really, it's a fully conforming minor subdivision, it did not require a notice.
If we did, then we'll just announce it anyway.
But we did notice, so yeah, we might as well.
So John,
Okay, thank you.
do we need a motion to advance it to the 17th?
Okay, I'll move it.
Okay, move. We have a second? Roll call, move it to the 17th.
Mrs. Zagrafos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes?
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberger? Mr. Cotillo?
Public be advised that SD 2185 Morris Properties LLC has been adjourned and will be heard on January 17, 2017, 6 o'clock. This meeting hall, there will be no further notice.
Al, are we missing plans over here?
There are 2 stacks here. I can put up a third stack if you want.
We can,
I wasn't sure how much-
So we're missing a
I
stack.
have them right here. If you want them, I can give them to you. It's just, I don't believe Michael usually opens his own, so.
We're playing, I'm jumping back to what.
Yeah, there's no.
Okay.
Everybody please be quiet in the audience. Okay, next, number 2.
Next application is SP 2219 for Congregation Mishkan HaTorah. It's a major site plan for a school with a dorm on East County Line Road.
Do we have waivers? Says Terry, would you like to go through the waivers, please?
Waivers, as indicated in our letter, include the EIS, tree protection management, landscaping, soil erosion sediment control, and design calculations. We recommend waiver of the EIS due to the development of the site. Tree protection can be waived for completeness only, with the understanding that if the application is approved, they will have to document compliance with the tree ordinance during compliance review. They were granted.
The waivers were granted at the December 20th meeting. This is a continued public hearing.
I have to apologize, Chairman, it's not referenced in our letter, but they were granted.
One second.
This is the continued public hearing.
So Ali, who can vote on it?
20th meeting.
I wasn't here.
And who was present at December 20th is Mr. Grunberger, Mr. Franklin, Mr. Hipperson, Mr. Herzl, and Mr. Cotillo.
I wasn't here.
No.
You can stay here, you can't vote on it.
Want to go party in the back? I think on the last application, before I step down for this one today, on the last application, on the application itself, it says there are no improvements being proposed with this plan, as all improvements are being done with major subdivisions.
Quiet, please.
On the last application, just quickly, the application says there are no improvements being proposed with this plan, as all improvements are being done with major subdivision SD number 2179. So, they were not requesting waivers.
SD 2179 is scheduled for January 17th, so I guess it's good that we have it all on the same.
That's true.
planning board agenda.
So it doesn't exist
It
unless
wasn't
or
even
until you
approved,
approve it.
yeah.
All right.
Through the chairman, if I may, we're prepared to present the full testimony that you would require for public hearing. So whoever wants to sit on this application is certainly invited to do so, and I don't think they should be precluded because they were or weren't here last time.
Is that okay, Mr. Jackson?
I'm sorry, we're on number 2.
You can start again from the beginning, you don't have to.
Yes,
Not a
sir.
continuation. But everybody can
The
sit
only
on
thing
it.
is, did any members of the public speak at the last hearing?
No, I don't think it's open.
Never opened it?
He's willing to start from scratch.
If you are rescinding all your prior proofs and testimony, you want to start from scratch, if the board is okay with that, I think you can start over and then just start with the members that are here.
Yes, please.
Go back and get them.
Same one, we go over.
They just broke open a bottle.
Mr. Herzl,
Okay, so this is a new application right now.
yeah, they're
Yes.
starting from scratch.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're wiping the record clear of all the previous,
Okay, so Terry,
starting
please,
just on the testimony from here forward.
Okay, Terry, please go over the variances, please.
All right, if we're starting over, are we starting with over the waivers as well?
Oh, boy.
Those,
Yeah.
no, those, if I remember correctly, those were already approved at the last
At the plan
meeting,
review.
and it's just a question of presenting the testimony for the public portion.
I'm fine with that if the board and the attorney are fine.
I'm sorry,
Is there anyone here
I thought we
about
already had a public hearing. I thought this is a continuation.
Yeah,
This
we're
is a
starting it again.
continuation. Mr. Gazarovski, I believe, was on record at the last one as objecting.
Yes.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here
yeah,
from his
substitute.
office. I would like to make a,
Yes, because I think you had a preliminary
Yes.
objection as to jurisdiction, so, Mr. Vogt, we're gonna need your help on this, has to do with it.
Okay, so,
you want me to speak now?
Mr. Herzl, I
Yes,
recommend
yes,
that you hear this,
yes.
because I think your argument is that this isn't permitted in this zone.
Yes,
So state your- state
my
your-
name is Bernard Riley. I'm an attorney in Red Bank from Mr. Gazarovski's office, and I'm here with a planner, but I do have a threshold objection. I represent, by the way, Eliho Corcus, 1018 West County Line Road.
Can you spell that, please?
Pardon me?
Can you spell that, please?
Last name is Corcus, first name Elyahoo. The objection is that this is in the R15 zone, which schools are permitted use. However, this application, as indicated in the notice, includes a dormitory component. I believe there's 8 or 10 bedrooms. It would be presumably used as residence for students. Dormitories are not permitted in the zone. There are 2 zones that do permit dormitories or residential use by students. That's the Oak, it's the Planned Educational Campus Zone, which is part of the RN zone. And also into the R12 zone, there's an Oak Street Core Neighborhood Overlay Zone, both of which allow residential dormitory use as part of a school use. This zone does not. Frankly, there's nothing in the zone that would hint that a dormitory use would be permissible or a permitted use. It's clear to me that if dormitories are not permitted, you can't have a dormitory in this use. This application really doesn't belong to the planning board. It is a use variance application and really should be referred to the zoning board. I don't know if the zoning officer had a chance to look at this before the application came before this board, but it's clear to me that there's no way you can stretch the school use into a dormitory use. It's just not part of a school use.
Thank you. Ms. Morris is the administrative officer. She's the one who screens and refers things to the planning board or the board of adjustment. So Ms. Morris, you want to weigh in on why you sent this to the planning board?
Isn't a dormitory accessory used to a
My
school?
understanding is, yes, the board historically has interpreted a dormitory as an accessory use to
Or
a
school,
school.
right.
I do understand where the references are coming from. I know that the first time dormitory was actually mentioned in the ordinance was when the campus ordinance was added. At that time, that kind of threw a wrench in the fact that it had always been an assumed accessory use to these permitted school use, but I believe that the board historically has interpreted the dormitory as an accessory use.
Well, again, my last comment would be, there are zones that provide for dormitory use. And it wouldn't be in certain zones if it was permissible under a school use. It just wouldn't be there. So I think the governing body clearly tried to steer dormitory uses into limited zones. And I don't think if you take the common understanding of a school is a place where students go in the morning and they leave in the afternoon. It's not something where they stay overnight. So I think the recognized definition of a school is something like that. Now, when you have a college or a boarding school, it's customarily considered a boarding school. A boarding school is permissible in that I think it's the, it's in the Oak Tree Core Neighborhood Zone. They specifically allow boarding schools. But if it's not defined in this zone, it's not permitted in this zone.
And frankly, this zone is a single-family residential zone. You have a overnight residential use. That is obviously quite a bit different than a school where the children come, where the students come in the morning and leave at night. This is a 24-hour operation, so to speak, and it's quite a bit different than what one would normally perceive as a school within the overall definition that most people would accept as a school. So I think it's clearly, now that the governing body has placed boarding schools and dormitories in specific zones, I think whatever may have been the practice in the past really can't be considered the practice going forward, or shouldn't be considered the practice going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from Mr. Brown.
Mr. Herzl,
Yeah.
before Mr. Brown weighs in on this, I just want to, Mr. Riley makes some cogent arguments.
Right.
Your administrative officer has sent it here. So unless the board is willing to reject her determination and say we don't have jurisdiction, then I think it would stay here. And the applicant's recourse would then be to either ask for an interpretation from the Board of Adjustment or go to court and appeal, this decision. And it's sort of the applicant's risk to go forward with this. And I'm not saying that you should not say, look, we don't have jurisdiction over this. I'm not weighing in one way or the other. You listen to the argument. You can make a determination. In the past, we have considered dormitories as an accessory use to a school. Mr. Riley says, well, everybody knows the school doesn't have a dormitory. I think the experience in Lakewood is a little different than that, but I don't, that would be up to the board to determine. Mr. Riley, please let me finish.
I'm sorry.
I believe this is a religious school, and the board is more familiar with the norms that will go with this type of school. So that's just how I would phrase this, and I ask you to consider what Mr. Brown has to say. But the board does have to make the threshold determination.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we go into it, this is another one of the plans that's not complete. You go to page 4, and just look at the engineer's review. The parking lots are not laid out, the drainage is not laid out. They'll do all this upon us approving it. But no, we want this before we approve it. Let's see what's going on here. This is why I made the motion in the very beginning of the meeting, that the plans that come to us should be completed plans. And the time you go through the engineer's report, page after page, you'll find nothing's done. They give us a plot plan.
Mr. Brown?
Hold on, we have to deal with this.
Well, actually, I think it's appropriate to deal with Mr. Franklin's issue first, so that you can determine whether or not there's even a question that should be discussed as between Mr. Riley and myself. Can we have Mr. Lyons sworn in, please?
That might give us a good breather to look into these other issues.
Correct.
But Mr. Herzl, how do you want to address that? Wasn't
I
the
think
motion, but I think
from now, from today and on, all plans have to be complete. Every engineer bring complete plans, plans are not complete. This plan is here already, so maybe we should listen to it.
But Mr. Herzl,
Right.
go to page 3, and look at the zoning. Number 4, off-street parking relief may be required. It's unclear how many off-street parking spaces exist on the property. No new offset or has been proposed. Furthermore, off-street parking requirements have not been indicated on the plans. What, are we gonna sit here and design the plan for these people? We don't do that. We read it, and it makes the code, the things, then we approve. I think it should be sent back and not even looked at until all this stuff is completed.
So Mr. Herzl, Mr. Franklin has his view on that. You have yours. I recommend that you call the board to have some deliberations. He hasn't put it in the form of a motion, but I think you should
What do you
see
think?
what page it is.
I will
How the
put it in
board
form of a
members
motion.
feel?
Mr. Herzl,
What?
I'd like to make a motion that this plan is incomplete and should be.
Mr. Franklin, if you could give me, not through the chairman, but if you could give me permission to speak out of turn, let the engineer explain what it is you're reading so that there's no confusion, and if you're still dissatisfied, set forth your motion. Would that be appropriate?
It's up to the chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would that be acceptable?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask Glenn, who's standing to my right, to please just put a few comments on the record so that everybody understands what the deficiencies, if any, are about, and then we can figure out what we do going forward.
Okay, Glenn, you have to be sworn in.
I do. Glenn Lyons, professional engineer, professional planner, Lakewood, New Jersey. When we submitted the application, we requested a waiver of site plan submission. So basically, the plan we have, which shows the two existing buildings with the addition in between and the existing driveways, was what we were going to submit our application on and what we were going to testify about. We're not proposing any parking lots, we're not proposing any curbs, we're not proposing any sidewalks, we aren't changing any landscaping. There are two existing two-story houses that we are building a classroom, lobby, and dining room in between the two buildings. We're basically taking two existing houses and just putting an addition between them to add them all together.
You don't need any more parking because of it?
No, we do not. There are probably eight to 10 parking spaces in the existing driveways, which are in use today.
Then you don't show them on the plan.
We show the driveways on both plans.
You don't show any parking. There's no parking.
We don't highlight we don't,
I have a question for Mr. Vogt. A lot of times people will say there's parking spaces on driveway or whatever. How does, the standards apply to how big the spaces have to be, whether they can be stacked, et cetera?
What you typically want to show on the plan, and I want to comment after I answer this particular question, you want to identify where the spaces are, what the sizes of the spaces are, what the dimensions of the drive aisles and driveways are, so you can make an interpretation, okay, yes, they have the adequate number of parking spaces, they have adequate drive aisles, there is adequate circulation. Now,
The flow of traffic.
going back to where we started a minute ago, Glenn raised the point that this started as a site plan waiver. The problem with that, as far as the board goes, we can only act upon site plan waivers for building additions no more than 1,500 square feet. If you look at this particular plan, I believe they're asking for an additional approximately 2,600 square feet. Something I said at the December hearing, we had an application where we were kind of trying to figure out what's in front of the board. And I recommended then what I want to recommend again. What would be extremely helpful in these kind of applications is a detailed written application rider, explaining to us, explaining to the board, this is what we're doing. We're doing a 2,600 square foot addition. You have two existing facilities. This is how we intend to accommodate the parking. This is how we intend to accommodate drainage. This is the relief that we're seeking and why. So everyone comes to the application, we can comment based upon what we understand that you're proposing. But if I don't see specifically delineated parking, I can't assume for you, oh, I think they're putting parking here. That may or may not be the case. That's all.
That's exactly what.
Be a little clear.
Now, the thing is, it does show a driveway, but it's a stone driveway.
It shows two
And we have
driveways.
to have paved driveways.
That would require technically, that would
It doesn't show
require
you
a waiver
any
of the board.
parking.
You're right. You're
It
right.
doesn't show you any parking spots. You know, it's not complete. I really don't think we should sit here and design it.
When you have complete plans?
well, guess we have to have them in by the end of next week, which would be, if we were carried to the next meeting in January.
So you would have it in by the 26th? We'll have it in?
No, not if you're going for January, he's talking about January 17th,
don't
to
go
have
for
it passed by the
It's
end
too
of this week,
aggressive.
but I believe they've already promised to do that on 2 other applications, so I don't know if that office can handle that.
It's up to him. Glenn is right here.
And 17th.
Do we have room on the 17th?
Now has, oh, really?
No, we have to, we can't overstack our calendar or we
Right.
run into other problems.
Right.
Correct.
And we're pushing people off.
Right, we have plenty of things on the 17th who.
When's the
may
next
or may
meeting
not
after the
have
17th?
February 21st.
Is the next one is the
Unless
third
we
one.
want to start using our February 7th, which was supposed to be tech for carryover items like this that weren't good enough to be
Okay.
heard in the first
I would do this.
Yeah. The February 7th, we're still keeping as a tech meeting.
This would be the only item on our, no.
No.
The tech meetings are occurring during the day with the professionals without the board.
Starting from now, so that the February 7th
So
is,
February 7th has nothing on it, the board would not have to come unless they want to put this on and have a full meeting just for these guys.
Ally, the only flaw with that is that I can see maybe have people noticed for that February meeting?
Not yet,
Okay, no one's noticed.
not yet, they haven't even completed that.
We got a secretary that knows what's going on.
He's way ahead of me. Always has been.
because Ali, on the calendar, we have to change the plan review date to a public hearing date. If we're gonna listen to public hearings on it.
I wrote a note on my calendar, on my, we were doing the plan reviews until 7:30.
Switched
so
it
that's
already?
an hour and a half time, that will-
Should we try to get it off at next meeting?
Look,
Mr. Herzl, that first row shows tonight's submission deadline schedule, public hearing for the 17th, and then on the final column shows if it wasn't reached on the 17th, then we would hear it on the 7th. This application is just, we're on the 3rd, we're kind of in a weird limbo spot here, but
How about putting it on the next meeting and with them understanding that it might not be heard?
that's the problem we
I think
run
that's-
into with not being fair to the board, to the public, because then we just carry, and these guys are gonna push everybody off the 17th, who's already supposed to be heard on the 17th, and
This case also has a jurisdiction issue.
Right, I think we should talk about that first,
You
before
know,
we get a date.
let's, instead of having this all on its head, let's go back to the jurisdiction issue.
Okay.
At the recommendation of your attorney, and then let's deal with the nuances that Mr. Franklin brought up, and, you know, his points are well taken, and we're gonna address them. As far as the jurisdiction issue, it is not only my reading of the ordinance, but it's been the action of the board for several decades now, that a school consists of whatever ancillary services, buildings, accoutrements, whatever it is you'd like to call it, are associated with that school. That's been the methodology of this board's analysis of an application for a school. That's been what's been going, that's been the
Practice of board.
practice in Lakewood for at least
As long as
20
I'm
years
on
that I remember, and many
long as
years
I'm on
before
board.
that. Now, the points that were raised by this applicant's objector are good points. They're good points, and I don't question where he's coming from. But in terms of their practical application, I think that the applicant would be well-served to move forward at its own peril, so long as the board acquiesces to hear it.
Any comments from the board members?
I just have one comment about the waivers for sidewalks.
No, before that, we're talking about the jurisdiction, I'm sorry.
I agree with Mr. Brown, that has been our practice.
That has been our practice.
And I feel comfortable.
Mr. O'Reilly just brings up a good point, that the ordinance says in certain zones that
Well,
don't.
those zones are the last two zones that were probably, the last two zones that were created.
Mr. Renner was asking me before to perhaps do a search of the UDO if I could for the word dormitory. Unfortunately, like I said, prior to the campus ordinance, which came in about 2009, 2010-ish, dormitory wasn't mentioned anywhere. It
Correct.
wasn't listed as an accessory use, it wasn't permitted in any zones, which the board had always interpreted it as an unspoken ancillary use for the school.
Let me ask you rhetorically, how many boys' high schools or boys' schools in Lakewood have kids that live there?
A lot.
It's very common.
It's very common.
That's
And
more
our practice has been, we always,
And unfortunately, when the ordinance, the latest two ordinances, the latest two zones, changes that did reference dormitory, were trying to be proactive in making sure they explicitly said that dormitories were permitted. But in my opinion, it just wasn't on the committee's mind to go back and then make sure that it was added in all the other places where.
Ellie, I'm going to make everyone's life a little bit easier. I've been advised that the use of a dormitory on this site, which is currently existent, has already been approved as a change of use many moons ago.
by which board?
Site plan exemption changes.
By which board?
That would not.
The planning board?
they're making an argument
It's
that
a- it's a
you're
new
expanding
application.
a prior non-conforming use, if
The-
it is in fact a non-conforming.
They're not expanding the use, they're expanding the facility to house the same services. Well, it depends on how you see it. But notwithstanding
But then the
the,
board, I think they might be going in your direction
oh,
anyway.
I understand
That
that.
notwithstanding, I agree that the board's always considered the dormitory as an ancillary use to the schools. And
Angela
I
was-
personally feel that.
Angela, you want to say something? I'm sorry.
My microphone's working.
Okay.
You got it, Bob.
Speak loud. We hear you.
Gentleman in the middle right here, can you please stop talking? Thank you. Excuse me, Ally. With regard to the change with the use of the word dormitory, I guess my question is, were there any approvals of that as an accessory use after that change?
Yes,
Yes.
I do
Yes.
recall the subject
Yeah.
coming up a handful
Plenty
of
times,
times,
yeah.
especially when we had objectors with attorneys who were good enough to try and point that out. Offhand, I couldn't tell you how many, but I know that
We
it has
definitely
come up
have.
before, and I am fairly confident that we had approvals of dormitories based off of that.
But the idea is a dormitory is another way of saying a school. A
I-
school that has kids staying there is a school.
I believe there were some cases where we saw dormitories stand alone on their own, and the board was not as comfortable with that. But when there was a school and a dormitory as specifically an ancillary use and not a standalone permitted, primary use, I believe the board was fine with that. Okay, thank you.
So I think we'll go along with it and, I'll vote.
Only out of an abundance of caution could you put it out
Take a
for a
motion.
vote so that we're clear on this and we can move forward to discuss the engineering issues.
Dormitories in the context of this case are a
accessory use of the school.
accessory use to a school, and they would be permitted.
I move that motion.
We'll have a second? Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Zagrafos? Yes. Mr. Franklin? Mr. Hibberson?
No.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman stepped down for the moment. Mr. Grunberger?
Yes.
And Mr. Cotillo?
No.
Okay, so the motion passes. The
No,
board
I'd
has
So
made
like to go back to the other point that I brought up.
Yes, please.
Now
That
back
the
to Mr.
drawing
Frank.
is not complete.
That's a different issue, we'll get to that, and I think they conceded that, but I just want to kind of tidy this up. So the board has affirmed the placement of this matter before the planning board by the administrative officer, so that's the determination. And Mr. Riley, you know what your recourse is at this point. Mr. Brown, you know what your risks of going forward are at this point.
Yes.
So we're going to continue until a court or the Board of Adjustment tells us otherwise on the jurisdiction issue. Now, Mr. Herzl, to Mr. Franklin's point about the matter not being ready.
Mr. Chairman, may I have Mr. Schmuckler address that for a moment? He's been helping the school shepherd this thing forward. He knows more about this than anyone in this room, besides perhaps the rabbi who was here with us as well. And then, again, Mr. Franklin, I definitely understand the points you've raised. I just want to make sure that they're not issues that I should be concerned with as well.
And Mr. Schmuckler have to be sworn in.
Yeah, this one has a friend.
Affirmed.
I do, Joshua Schmuckler, 61 Canary Drive, Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701. I'm a friend of the school. I'm acquaintance of the rabbi. I actually have a brother-in-law in the school as well, so I'm very, very familiar with the school. What you see in this case is not what you have. Angela, you actually got me on the mic, see? There you go. The school, there you go. This school was under the guidance of a developer at one point in time, and they were under the impression that didn't, whatever the case was, construction was started at the site without the rabbi understanding. The building department said stop, everyone said stop. That developer was fired, a different developer was brought in, and now we had a hole in the ground between the two buildings with the foundations coming in. We said, listen, you need site plan approval. We got to get this building approved and up above the table and on board and everything okay. We said, let's get a one-page, just get a page in, just to show where the building is, plot it, show that there's no variances because of where the building's being plotted. Come in front of the board and say, listen, we have a problem here. I did mention this to Terry. I know Jeff is very involved with this, the township engineer. It could be we should have written that paragraph or two, which we should have. I don't know if there's even a time since the last meeting where this was done, since we didn't submit updated plans, because it sort of got moved on from that. This is not somebody coming saying, I want to build this really, really fast, and this hole was in the ground for a number of months, and now they put some steel up there to hold the buildings apart, and they poured some concrete to hold the buildings together. They don't want to go and develop the site. This is a minor addition that they want to do. The county actually is coming through right now, and they're just moving utilities over, and they're going to be doing the whole frontage there, and they're putting a sidewalk, and they're putting a curb, and Glenn will talk to you about that. This is not somebody who's coming and saying, I want to come and do a major site plan. This is something, our words in the application was, we'd like to do a plot plan for this. And I think, John, you said exactly, this looks like a plot plan. This is what we wanted to do. It's a simple plot plan to get them above board, make sure whatever they're developing doesn't cause variances, make sure whatever they're developing will work, won't be a major issue. Yes, you have a long letter because Terry has to do that because the board didn't grant those waivers. So Terry's letter states, if you need lighting, well, then you need a lighting waiver. If you need this, you need this waiver. Rabbi Rubenstein's here, he's been back and forth for a number of meetings. When he came to us, he said, I just want to get this done legally. I want to get this done properly. I don't want to play around. I want to do what I have to do and get it done. We want to move forward in construction so they can get this building in, this little addition attaching the two houses. There's nobody here slamming things through. There's nobody here trying to give in a set of plans that are not perfectly up to date and that are completely done. The plan, as you see, is really with a plan that we'd like to build with. We want them to build with, because otherwise you have an open foundation in the winter between two buildings that are sort of coming against each other. It's not a good thing. That's all I'm asking is if we could be heard, those waivers. I understand in the future you want to see a full set of plans. I understand in the future we need to have that few paragraphs. As somebody who's been bringing a majority of those applications to the board, we will have that for you. All I can ask is if you could actually talk to Rabbi Rubenstein, let him get sworn in, let him talk to you, let him address the board, let him tell you how many students he has, how he's not growing the school, he's just letting them have a little better quarters, because they're really in very, very tight quarters right now. Let him tell you that. It'll be Mr. Brown taking care of the rest. I think I did my part. That's the beginning of that. Now that you know the story behind it.
John, do you feel comfortable listening to that?
Finish the drawing. The guy can sit down in one working day and have this thing complete and have it back. You know, let's stop this stuff when we sit here and design it. Let him draw the parking places. Let him draw where the paving's going to be. Let him draw where all the questions that the engineer has on his document. Answer all them questions. Put it on this piece of paper. That's what I'm asking. It's simple.
Yeah.
Hey, don't waste it. Right. We wasted a half hour on this already.
We had a jurisdiction issue.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Under zoning, number 6 and 7,
I'm not sure we're listening to it yet.
looking for design waivers for no sidewalks on Country Line Road and the other side. We're not listening.
I think there was
Well-
testimony a few minutes ago, if I understand that the county is coming through.
Yes.
I think I heard that.
With sidewalks?
The county plans that they have for County Line Road, excuse me, include sidewalks on the north side of County Line Road from Somerset all the way to Brook Road. They are not proposing to construct sidewalks on the south side of the street. And as far as Lucerne Drive, there are no sidewalk, we're asking for a waiver of curbs. There's no curbs in that entire development. That was part of the CAFR permit that was granted when that entire development was built, that there would be no curbing, that the intent was by the state at the time that water would run off the road and soak in along the edge of the road, so it reduced the total amount of the drainage system. So if we put curbing along Lucerne Drive, where there are existing sidewalks, but there are no curbs, we would be going against the CAFR permit, and we would have to go back to the state to get that waived.
My concern stems from the fact that part of the problem in Lakewood, the courtesy buses, of course, because of lack of putting in sidewalks in the past. And, if it continues, it's just going to compound the problem.
There will be sidewalks. There are sidewalks on the side of the property, and there will be on the front. If we put them in today, there's probably a 50% chance that the county's going to come along when they fix the road in a few months or next summer and rip them out again. We watch them do it all the time. We put them in, the county takes them out because they're not exactly
But
where
they
they
will
want them.
replace them. Again,
They're rebuilding right now.
just to help address that point, there will be, at the end of the day, when the county is done with their expansion, there will be sidewalks.
Just
So-
going forward, guys, on future applications, tell us that. This is our rationale as to why we're not showing this.
I'm not the engineer, but I'm still going to address your point. Your point is absolutely on the money. And this meeting started off with a few recommendations that would make this process a lot more user-friendly, not only for the applicants and the public, but also for the professionals who need to look at this stuff and figure out which way is up.
And then we can report to the board, design waivers are being sought on the basis that per the applicant, sidewalk is expected between A and B, and the board at least can.
Terry, as usual, I fully agree with you. Let Mr. Schmuckler's introductory comments serve as the few paragraphs in this particular case. But again, it's up to Mr. Franklin, who raised an objection, and it's not up to me or you.
Would the applicant be willing to bond for sidewalks to be released upon when the county puts it in? Sure, Schmucker says yes.
Yes.
Bond the sidewalks?
We would bond for sidewalks, and the bond would be released upon the county putting them in, so that if, say, there's a new, county person who decides that there shouldn't be sidewalks, we would have the responsibility.
For how long?
What's the time frame?
No time frame forever, they should keep it.
No, but at some point, the sidewalks
They
have to
want
go
to-
in.
the
county is doing it right now.
When should we
How
draw
long?
on the,
Yeah.
on the bond? I don't know, within 2 years?
Whenever
County
it
is
is.
doing it right now.
I think 24 months would be sufficient, because the county's there, if I'm
They're
not
doing
mistaken.
right now, yeah, they're working
Yeah.
right now. They're there right now.
It's a good suggestion, and thank you. As far as whether or not these plans are adequate, I can't make that call, and the board needs to make
I
that call
definitely
for
don't
us.
want it on my responsibility that if 2 buildings fall down, 2 buildings fall in, if the testimony is correct, that the buildings may fall in during the winter, I want to get this thing moving as quickly as possible. That's my personal
Yeah,
opinion.
but see, Mr. Franklin raised a point, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate so that we're clear about this. Mr. Franklin raised an important point, and that is, the board cannot act upon plans that it can't read, or upon plans that are incomplete, so there's missing information. But what I request of you is that you listen to the testimony, and if you're still missing pieces, tell us, so that we can either fill them in, or if we don't have the answers, then we're stuck.
Where would the parking go?
Let me see the letter. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm going to turn the mic over
One
to...
second, through the chair. We-
Sorry.
No, I think we should make a motion, with listening to this, or not.
I have a couple questions,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Angela.
I got a short line here. Do you mind if I ask a couple questions of Mr. Schmuckler?
By all means. Take Mr. Schmuckler,
I'm
please.
comfortable up here, it's okay.
We're going to make you uncomfortable.
Good luck.
First, I just want to just make a general statement that generally a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if the applicants take the time to paint the picture, we're all looking at the same thing. If you're describing it, we're all imagining something different. It's like when you read a book versus a movie. So it is important to have a plan. I feel more comfortable when there's a plan. I do agree with Mr. Franklin. You said a couple of things that I wrote down because they were kind of contradictory, and I just need some clarification so I can understand where you're coming from. The first thing that you opened up with is what we have is not what you see before you, which exactly is the point why we need plans, because we're describing something that we're not looking at. And that was the first concern. But after that, you talked about how they already went forward, I guess, with doing the construction, correct?
Correct.
And that was without doing what they
Clearing.
issued legally, correct? And now they want to do everything legal, which from the board's perspective, could be that they have to have plans.
I think to clarify that a little bit, is they were going under the impression that they didn't need specific permits or site plan approval. And when they found out that they did need site plan approval, they stopped everything, including a hole between 2 foundations. They said, whoa, what do we do? We need site plan approval.
How did you get a building permit without?
I don't know, it was before they hired us, I don't know. I don't know.
I think that generally, in order to excavate, move dirt, get
Correct.
inspections, you need a permit, which usually requires
And
zoning.
Correct, and the goal of this hearing is to say, let's do this as well as possible at this point. And having said, to address your point of what you see is not what you have, I meant as for the overall impression of the site plan. The site plan actually is a very small addition to two houses. It's connecting two different houses that are next to each other where the current school is existing. The boys are there every day. The school exists, and they're adding this connection between the two buildings. If you would show this to me without an explanation, I would think this is an incomplete plan. With an explanation, it's easier to understand that this is something that we're trying to explain where the building will be. If there's something that would let them finish this with preliminary approval, that would be fine. The goal is not to gyp the board from a site plan. The goal is to let them continue construction and get this structure to be done safely, and get it done safely.
I have another question about the safety. So when you were speaking before, you said that they have taken affirmative steps with cement and steel
Some
to
steel.
secure the property.
To secure the two
So
houses.
Can you explain to me how unsafe the property is if this were to be put off until another meeting? For proper
Well,
plans?
if at the next meeting, when they get to, let's just say January 17th, whatever it would be, they get an approval. If they can go and build that day and they can say, okay, you're good to go, that would be wonderful. However, we understand that it's a little bit different than that. Once they get an approval, there needs to be a resolution at the next hearing. And we have to deal with, we're going to have some compliance issues. We're going to have some minor revisions to do, which is for every single application, no matter how perfect you are, there's always going to be some revisions, because the board is going to ask us for some things. My guess is the board's going to say, go to the current gravel area and show us, draw on the gravel area how you can get, let's just say, 6 spots, whatever it is, right? And we would have to go and do that. If I can show you a picture of what's there now, yeah, they shored it up with some concrete and some steel beams, but I'm not a structural engineer. I don't think there's a structural engineer tonight, but we'd like to really see this done properly. I can pass around the phone if Mr. Jackson.
I think.
Since you mentioned that there will be plan revisions during compliance, there will be things that need to be done.
We want to get this as fast as possible.
Given that you are aware there will be the need for plan revisions, have you started work on anything addressed in the December 12th letter by Terry?
Correct.
Since your plans were completed October 30th, and has there been any progress that you could show the board
Absolutely.
since then?
So as soon as we got the review letter, anything that was not waiver related, meaning if it was something that we were still asking the board to waive, then we're still asking the board to waive. If there's anything else that the board, where Terry or Dave's letter said, you know what, we want you to do this and this and this, and it's not subject to a waiver, those plans are.
One second, please. I have maybe a compromise to propose, and if the board is agreeable.
If the board
to
agrees,
this.
we'll listen to it, if not, not.
I think that maybe we could hear this application, you tell us what you're gonna do, we get comfortable with that, you come back to the next meeting with that plan showing what we'd agree to tonight, you show the parking spots, show exactly what you're building, we affirm with the resolution at that time.
You know, I totally disagree with that, totally disagree. Let them put it, they can make that safe, all they do is put a piece of plywood down in front of the hole, nobody's gonna fall in the hole. If they winterize the hole, it's safe for the winter. Now, the thing is, they don't have to wait all winter, they can get these plans back here to us. It doesn't take the engineer that long to draw the parking lots, draw the strap, and answer all the questions that's on that sheet for the engineer. That's not that big a job.
John, I'm going to take your side this time, okay? This is not we're not here to present a safety argument. If you're not happy with the plans, then you need to poll your board to see whether or not they want to hear this application, in spite of the fact that there are insufficient, we'll call it, plans.
me ask you a
I'm not
question.
going to go forward if you're not comfortable, because I'm looking to get approved. I'm not looking to sit here and waste anyone's time and then, go round and round. You know how the story
When could you
works.
have revised plans?
Pardon?
If we go that route.
Schmuckler just indicated that the revisions were already made for the December 12th letter, so I would think that they're done. Have them tomorrow.
So why weren't they here?
So can we put them on the next meeting? When is the?
January 17th, which we had said is filling up, but
I-
I mean, it's really, plans need to be in this week.
All right.
It won't take that long to-
Mr. Schmuckler.
Once it's all sized up.
Mr. Schmuckler, do you have the plans ready to give it in tomorrow?
I can have plans, I need 4 hours tomorrow. The footings are exposed, the pocket water goes in and freezes, the buildings shift, and we have a real problem. But
You'll answer all the questions on the engineer's letter.
if you, can we talk about waivers today, so we know what waivers you want to give, so I know what I actually have to draw, what I don't have to draw? Is that fair enough? I think that's fair enough. I think that's my take.
With all due respect, as I understand what's been said here is, they started construction without even a building permit.
There is a building permit
Well, all
in
right, they
place
started
from
construction
August.
without whatever the required procedure was, and that's how they got to where they are. It's not a minor project, it's a major
Okay,
project.
so we're adjourning this to the next meeting. Which meeting can we put this to?
I would recommend February 7th.
Okay. Mr. Schmoklo, Mr. Brown,
Sorry?
the members would like to advance this to February 7th.
Can I
When
ask
could
if
you
you guys
have the
can
plans
discuss
in?
waivers before, so I know what I'm gonna be giving in?
Yeah,
Terry
listen to the waivers.
understands what we're,
I think waivers, you said the waivers were voted on.
Waivers are listed in our letter if we want to talk about them to the board.
that would help me know what I need up
We
there.
don't have to discuss it. Let's get him to do the
John-
stuff that's
John.
supposed to be done.
They should do as much as they can and request as little waivers as possible and make good choices on what waivers they are requesting, rather than force the board to come up with a decision on that now.
Right.
Even though some folks behind me, like my clients, are not going to be real happy, I would actually agree with you, Ellie, and I think that what ought to happen is they submit a plan, and whatever is not on there, they can explain by way of, this is a waiver that we're requesting, and we're therefore not showing it. We're not paving this, or we're not shoring this up, or we're not doing X, Y, and Z, and you can fill in the blanks because of whatever reason. So we're going to use an amalgamation of the various suggestions that were made, submit plans. They may look very similar to these, and Mr. Franklin might not be so happy, but he'll have a letter to at least explain to him what it is that he's looking at and why. And I think that's perfectly appropriate.
Okay, so do we have a motion to move this to the February 7th?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Zagrafos? Mr. Franklin?
Yes.
Mr. Hipperson?
Yes.
Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
Mr. Renner? Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberger? And Mr. Henry?
Ally, when do you need the
Thank you.
plans, revised plans by?
SB 2219, Congregation Mission of the Torah has been adjourned to February 7th, 2017, 6 o'clock. Everybody get that?
No, here, it's scheduled.
It's okay if not.
No, it's here, I'll find it.
As long as it's here 10 days before, it'll be fine.
Have a calendar?
2219, Congregation Mission of the Torah has been adjourned to February 7th, 2017.
Ellie?
Next application is SP 2221AA, made by Congregation Vice Usofer Tiferes Aryeh.
AC Sascha Tiferes Aria.
What you said?
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Okay.
It's a change of use site plan exemption to convert an existing house into a school on Ridge Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Abraham Penzer appearing on behalf of the applicant. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the entire board and the
Mr.
chairman,
Bennett is
vice
stepping
chairman.
down. He's stepping
The
down,
vice
Mr.
chairman has to step down, I understand that. I can congratulate him anyway,
Okay,
instead of
Mr.
seeing him
Penzer.
tomorrow in the bank.
No, before
But
that.
to be with that. And I would like to welcome back Ms. Katsouris, that I've had the privilege of appearing before.
The public could keep it down, gentlemen. Thank you.
Is that her name? I'm sorry. At my age, I'm glad I remember part of the name, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm sorry, forgive me. Whatever. Anyway, welcome aboard. It's been a year since I saw you last, and I thank you for the privilege. Without further ado, I'd like to swear in.
I would like to go first with Terry. If we can go over.
There is no waivers.
There is
There are
waivers there?
design waivers.
Design waivers, yes.
necessary.
Okay.
Now, just a point of clarification, this is a change of use application. There was great testimony at the last hearing about that starting as a change of use. Again, the township requirements are, if you're proposing more than 1,500 square feet of new building coverage, it cannot be heard as a change of use. This is a strict retrofit, so you have two different applications.
Thank you.
That being said, as identified in the letter, waivers are necessary, including sidewalk, curbing, lighting, the use of existing gravel on-site parking, and landscaping.
There's no, right now, the rabbi is under a tremendous emergency. He's been evicted. He's out in the street. So I want to thank you for letting us notice and get us on so quickly, because he literally has no place where to go. The plan is to have a maximum of 22 students. 12 of them live in the area. 10 of them will be picked up in the area. They're older students. There is no plan to do anything outside, because everything is going to be internal.
22 per class?
22 total.
Total, that's it?
Total, that's it.
That's the maximum it's gonna grow to?
At this point, that's what we're looking at. If we get to the next stage, that's the plan. If it goes more, we're not going outside of it. That's the idea.
Not changing anything on the structure?
We're not training anything outside of the
Outside the
structure.
structure.
Internally, we are.
Right,
We're changing the house into classrooms for that, and everything is going to be physically inside, and there's more than enough parking. Without further ado, will you please swear in Mr. Flannery,
Any
please?
variances on this application?
There are
No, no variances, okay.
There's
thank
no
you, Terry.
variances whatsoever.
Okay,
Fully
thank you, Terry.
conforming application.
Okay, Mr. Flannery, to be sworn in, please.
Do you swear affirm testimony will be, let me start over. Do you swear affirm testimony that you give before the board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey, licensed professional engineer and professional planner. As Mr.
Will the
Penzer,
board stipulate as to credentials of Mr. Flannery?
As well, as an engineer, planner, attorney.
Whatever you want, he is. And
as
Hebrew is
Mr.
expression,
Penzer
afoy,
has
afoy,
indicated,
Turn it.
we're here for a site plan exemption to change a house into a school. The school, as Mr. Penzer indicated, needs a place quickly. They've been evicted. They currently have 2 classes, 10 children in one, 12 in the other. The house that's there, the bedrooms will be converted into classrooms, and there'll be 1 office. The most that we would be looking to do on this site before we do come back to the board with a proper site plan for a proper building for the school would be 3 classes. So we'd be looking at 32 to 36 maximum before we came back. There's no changes proposed to the outside. The changes to the inside could be done quickly. We'd have to comply with all of the building codes to change the existing rooms into classrooms and 1 office. There's a driveway in front. There's a gravel parking area on the side. There's more than enough to accommodate what would be 2 vehicles at this point and a maximum of 4 at some point in the future. And the applicant is looking for this site plan exemption as a temporary measure and ultimately plans to come back on this site with a site plan for a proper school.
Any buses coming to the site?
The children, a majority of them live in the area. The school does contract to have a van would come and drop the kids off. No school buses.
And what's with garbage?
The garbage, we would meet with Public Works, and it would be 1 rollout container out to the curb.
The next time, Public Works should go before too.
We were all sitting here, and we learned that in 2017, it's going to be different, and it's going to be better, and it's going to be easier for all of us, I think, me included. And if we had heard this beforehand, we could have responded to that, but in light of the rabbi and the emergency, we would hope that we could do one last one under 2016 rules.
What is the 2017 rule? I didn't hear it.
So
I could learn.
And 17 rule is you go to Public Works first, you submit an explanation of exactly what you're doing, so Terry doesn't have to
second guess.
figure it out.
Or just have good enough plans.
Yes.
That's your.
And
you're pushing
Terry-
it. That's-
Terry's been very good at it in the past, but
Terry's tired of guessing.
Terry's tired.
Okay.
Brian, any dormitories on this property?
No dormitory.
No.
Nothing besides the school?
Correct.
Okay, and you want to max it at 36, 40, what?
3 classrooms, 36.
We're very happy to max it. I'm sorry, I misspoke before.
Okay. Okay, I know, if they want to make a future, you have to think about the 3rd class if you want to put it in, so let's see what the maximum.
The rabbi is saying he'd prefer 42.
Wow, okay. That's like, okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's our
That's it?
application.
Any questions from any board members?
We don't have a floor plan. We don't know if they have enough bathrooms for 42 kids in the school. You know, here again, we got a plan before us without a plan. So all we're showing a nice site plan with a building with a gravel parking, with a gravel driveway.
We submitted it.
There's a house layout plan. I don't know if that was submitted
No, we don't
with
have
the
it.
application.
No, actually, I think
We,
there
we
is.
have, we have a floor plan here of the existing house.
Oh, existing
But to John's point, I think instead of us maxing it out at 36 or 40, whatever the number is, it's whatever you.
Whatever's code.
Certainly there would be,
The code is gonna determine what the.
Whatever the
maximum
code is,
is.
we have no problem with the
If it's
code
20,
is.
if it's
We will
50,
meet the
whatever it
code.
is.
Yes.
I mean, that's.
We have to meet the code anyway.
And handicap, you'll also meet.
We'll
all the
meet
code.
handicap and code, we intend to put a ramp up.
I mean, you agree to everything in Terry's letter?
There's no problem, everything that Terry says we will do.
That's actually our comment number 9, which we put in all change of uses, planning board approval, if granted, does not relieve the owner's responsibility to get any and all outside approvals. If the building department doesn't sign off on it, you cannot.
Right. So the maximum amount that could be allowed is what the building department will allow.
They may want to have 42 students or whatever it is. The building code may say.
30.
This is only occupiable for 20.
Well, then it's
Right.
20, yes.
So then it's 20. Whatever the code is, we're not looking to go beyond the code.
And if you want to go beyond, you have to come back to the board for
100%,
new
any
application.
changes beyond it, we have to come back.
So you're
No.
representing that it'll be a maximum of,
42,
maximum of 42
yes. Unless the code prohibits that or restricts it. Yes,
So it's either the code maximum or 32.
42,
42, so if the code
Correct.
says 72, you're still 42.
42. Anything other changes, we have to come back on that as
Any
well.
addition, any new buildings? you have to
Any
come back.
addition, anything else whatsoever. And no dormitories, you can put that in as well. After the last thing, I'll put that in. So we have a contrast.
If they can, they can. If they can only get 10, they can only get 10. It's up to the zone, to the. How many parking spaces do you need?
Well, per the ordinance, we would need one for the office and one for each of the classrooms. We would need 4.
Maximum 4.
4 maximum, yes.
And how much could you fit on that
Well,
gravel parking?
the driveway, you could fit too easily. There's a garage where you could put a third, and to the left is a gravel area that's currently used for parking, that you could probably put 10.
You'll pay that, right?
Well, currently, we only need 3, which we can accommodate in the driveway and the garage. If we need more,
The garage is gonna remain a garage?
yes,
It's not gonna become a classroom?
No,
it's not going to become a classroom.
no.
You gonna park in the garage?
If we need it.
The
We don't believe it.
applicant indicated that he only needs 2 parking spaces, which can be accommodated in the driveway, but he has the gravel if there's an overflow situation. The garage is
paved?
there, the garage is there to comply with the code, which would say 1 for each classroom and 1 for the garage. The applicant would really prefer not to pave the gravel area to the side, because his intention is to come back to this board with a site plan.
Would you care to enlarge upon this with your comment, an overflow situation?
An overflow situation is,
I've seen the site, it's tremendous. It's over an acre.
yeah,
It's a pretty big site.
yes, it's more than an acre.
Garage on the right side,
Garage is on the left side,
on the left side?
yes.
Are there any wetlands on this area?
There's no wetlands in the area we're asking to use. Yeah, there's wetlands in the rear of the site.
Is there room for future growth on this property without, with the wetlands issue?
Yes.
Okay.
There's pavement here? Is there any pavement in the garage?
Well, the garage has a concrete floor.
The driveway is gravel.
I haven't, the driveway is gravel.
You can't see Mr. Grunberger on the left side, there are cars, there's a car parked there.
There's a lot, I was there, there's a lot of cars there. It's a big open area. Any other questions from any board members? I'll open to the public now. Anybody from the public would like to be heard on this application?
Swear affirm testimony to give these from the board with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
William Hobday, 30 Schoolhouse Lane.
Uh,
I'm still not sure what I heard about the number of students. I thought I heard 26, and then I thought I heard it went to 42?
They said that it's maxed at 42 if the building department allows it. It's up to the
We have
current.
22 right now.
22 now.
They have 22, they said they have 22 students now, they'd like to go up to 42, but really, I mean, if the plan could, if the layout can accommodate 30 by code, it's gonna be 30, if it's gonna accommodate 50, I mean,
Gotcha.
whatever, you know,
They cannot go over anything above the code.
they're saying they're not gonna go over 40.
Is there a basement in this building?
There is a basement, I don't think it's habitable. Wait, Brian, there's a basement? I think so.
What's the question?
Is there a
There is a
basement?
basement in the house. The basement would be for storage.
And it's not finished then? No bathroom down there?
It's not finished and no bathroom.
How many bathrooms are there in the building?
Two.
Is there any restriction for 22 to 26 students plus staff for 2 bathrooms? And I'm going to presume that this is serviced by a septic system?
It's city sewer, I think. Sewer. City sewer.
Sewer, okay.
City sewer.
Good.
Mr. Habda, again, I think that's a code issue, and it's up to the building department. The building department, if they need more bathrooms, they have to make more bathrooms. Whatever the code requires.
Don't we have the cart before the horse? Shouldn't these issues be settled before they come here to determine what their requirement is for 22 or 26 students, to know if that's authorized?
That's a rhetorical question, and we'll assume that it's a statement by you saying that this should have these things before they come here.
No, I asked the question.
They don't have to respond to that. That's a rhetorical question. That's a point that you're making.
I
Brian, can you answer
take
that?
it that,
Is 2 bathrooms enough for 22?
let me rephrase or redirect this. I would think that with an application to come before the planning board to teach, has 26 students, that one would think that the building is authorized for 26 students to be in it, with 2 bathrooms, 26 students plus staff for 2 bathrooms. If we don't know the answer to that, I don't know how the planning board can approve it. And that's the question. But I think you need more information on this application.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public would like to be heard on this application? Please come forward. Mr. Klein, you have to be affirmed then. Please.
You affirm the testimony that gives before the court with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I have a few
And
questions.
Mr. Klein?
Yeah. The architect, usually in the past, when there was no requirement to come to the planning board for a change of use, I'm just putting on the record, I'm not objecting to this application. When you put a change of use application to come to the board, you had to give architecturals, and not to this board, when you went to the zoning office and she's trying to change of use for schools, she made you give architecturals as far as what is in the building, like already after the construction. Over here, you have bedrooms on the architecturals. I was just wondering, why are we more lenient now that it's coming to a board? Do you have an answer to that, Brian?
Yes, I do have an answer to that. The procedure that occurs with Fran is still going to occur. This is an extra step. We come to the planning board first so that the public has an opportunity to hear what's going on, and they're not surprised with the school showing up. We still have to follow all the codes and all the rules, and that's the protection that the board has, and that's how they can vote on this, knowing that there's other agencies with rules that we have to follow as well.
Me, as a member of the public, when I see that the school is being put into bedrooms, I right away assume that what you're doing is you're making a change of use on the property. The next thing they're going to do is get temporary trailers for the future construction. So for me, it's a way of the school putting in trailers versus actually having now a building. I'm not objecting to trailers. I'm just, if you want to put in trailers, come to the board. Say, yes, you were looking for change of use and you're putting in trailers.
I think he has to come back to the board if he wants to put trailers in.
Once he has a school, those zoning
The zoning
officer
officer can sign off?
can issue, once there's an approval for school, the zoning officer can issue temporary trailer classroom permits.
Okay. Okay, well,
That stay there forever.
But didn't somebody ask before if there's gonna be trailers? You said no. And you said no.
No,
Yeah, so there are,
Now, there's no trailers. In a month from now, there will be.
just putting on record, there's no trailers.
no trailers.
so you're not gonna do trailers.
No, we're not interested in doing trailers.
Yeah,
And
This
you
is
could-
our school, and we don't need, what do we need to put kids in the trailer?
Yeah, no,
We have
He's
more than
maxing
enough
at
room in the building.
42 students.
What?
He's maxing it at 42 students.
That's correct.
I think the
We have
house is
no
gonna-
interest in going outside of the building. We want to control and contain the students in the building.
And if you have to go out, you come back.
We will
for a
come
new
back.
plan.
As a
Okay.
condition, if we go for any trailers, we will come back before this board.
Okay.
The next question is, who's the owner of the property? Is the applicant the owner of the property?
Yes.
I think that's not on the application. It says there's a different owner,
Who's
so.
the owner of the property? Who's the owner of the property? Mr. who? Let's?
He signed the regular waiver.
Yes,
Are you-
he gave a waiver, the owner of the property gave a waiver, he's in contract with them, subject on this approval, I assume. I can't tell you, but
Well, you
it's
can
okay.
ask him, I don't know.
It's okay. The driveway and curbs, you're asking for a waiver of that. If you're coming for a change of use, the ordinance says that you have to put in sidewalks and curbs. Why?
Where does it say that, please?
What?
Where does it say that?
I'll ask Brian.
Ask
Are you
him.
asking for a waiver for sidewalks and
Yes, at this
curbs?
time, yes, we did.
So you're asking for a waiver?
We don't need it right now, we're not touching it. There are
If you don't need it, and the ordinance says that you don't need it, you wouldn't have had to ask for a waiver. If you're asking for a waiver, it means is the ordinance says that you have to do it, and you're asking to waive the requirements of this ordinance.
That's not true.
Let me ask you a professional, you're not a witness.
And neither are you.
Actually,
You're a
I have a
speaker.
right to
So do I.
cross-examine your
Okay, he's
witness.
gonna
Okay,
do.
Mr. Klein.
Okay, no problem.
Relax, relax.
You practice law as well, I see.
Mr. Klein has the right to ask questions.
But he's not a lawyer, and he can ask questions as a layman. He is not a lawyer. If he's representing himself, he can do whatever he wants, but he's not a lawyer. If he's practicing law, I want to see his license. He wants to see my waiver, I want to see his license.
The law states that a member of the public has the right to.
Mr. Klein, you're
Sorry.
ahead. I said you could ask his witness
Okay.
questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Penzer, I.
Mr. Bryan.
But I think we should take it down a notch, though. Everybody, let's just, you know.
Thank God.
Want to answer that question?
What's the question?
Yeah, are you
The
asking
question
if anyone-
is-
Klein, please ask Mr. Klein any question you want to ask.
The question is as follows. You're asking for a waiver of sidewalks and curbs. Why, the reason why I'm concerned about this application is right on the border of Howell. The way it looks now, this place looks like a pigsty. So I am just, the only thing is that all they have to see now is there's a school with, might be some trailers, might not, but the fact of the matter is, there's no curbs and there's no sidewalks, and there will be kids walking over there. So my question is, why are you asking for a waiver of sidewalks?
Here's the question, why are you asking a waiver of sidewalks? All the other stuff was his.
And in my testimony, I said we're asking to not put in curbs and sidewalks at this time because it's temporary, and all that would be disturbed when we come back with a site plan on this site to build a proper school.
And when do you think that will be? How many years?
3 or 4 years?
So we're going to have 3 or 4 years, place looking like a pigsty.
Well, it looks like a pigsty now. I'm assuming that when a school gets in there, it's going to look a lot nicer, and our neighbors in Howell are going to say, thank heavens this got cleaned up and there's a nice school.
Also, since we keep kosher, we don't like pigsties.
Okay, one more question. One more question. Yes.
Mr. Flannery, what would be the harm in putting in sidewalks now? You know, how much of it, you have the four corners of the property, the sidewalks will go along the roadway, how much would be disturbed at a potential?
During construction, all of it.
How's that?
How's that? Because contractors drive heavy machinery around and they,
But you go in and out through the driveway area, you don't drive over every square foot of it.
in theory, that's the way it should work. In practical matters, it's not the way it works.
Thank you.
Mr. Flannery, this portion of Ridge is not a county roadway, is it?
Yes.
Mr.
County road.
There is.
I'm not sure. And-
You can't even put
County road.
Okay,
That's the question.
all right. Mr. Franklin has answered the question.
So you would require county planning board approval, that's right.
No, we would not. It's a site plan exemption. It's an existing building. We're not building anything. We don't have to go to the county.
Unless they were to build a curb and sidewalk and then
Yes,
So if you build curb and sidewalks, you will have to go to the county for approval?
yes. And then this school is going to be in tents somewhere because the county takes forever.
Then we have to talk about trailers.
Or not buying the property and going in at a different property that you don't have to require curb and sidewalk. One small question. Does the ordinance require you today to ask for a waiver of, that means if you wouldn't have asked for a waiver, would the ordinance require you to put in curbs and sidewalks?
It's my opinion that the ordinance does not require us to put in curb and sidewalk. When you submit a site plan, when you submit for construction, you are required to put in curb and sidewalks. My interpretation of the ordinance, and I'm sure other people have different interpretations, is we're not required to put in curbs and
So
sidewalks.
Terry is asking for a waiver,
You're
that's
using the site for a new use, it's our recommendation to audit providers seek waivers.
Is that a waiver of an ordinance that you're
It's a
asking?
design waiver, it's not a variance.
But it's still a waiver of an ordinance that if you wouldn't have asked for this waiver, you would be required accordingly to the UDO to put it in.
If the board does not grant the waiver, then
So you disagree with what just Brian just said?
You can't cross-examine Mr. Rhodes.
Okay. John, no,
I recommended design
I think
waivers.
we voted on the waivers already.
No, that's submission waivers.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yeah,
You have
John.
sewer, water, and gas into the building?
Mr. Klein said he was in favor of this application. I hate to see him not.
Does it have sewer, water, and gas? Yes, it does.
Sewer, water, and gas?
Sewer, water, and gas.
Anybody else in the public would like to be heard on this application? Please come forward.
Sir, please raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you give before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I so swear.
Please state your name and give your address.
Bruce Balance, 1215 Delmar Road, Lakewood, New Jersey.
Please address your comments to the board.
The transportation now was stated to be by vans. Students would be picked up by the school and brought there in vans, is that
And they
correct?
said that most people walk, most students walk. on the-
Well, I mean, yes, and that was my
One van.
next point, but there will be no plans for private vehicles to drive students there. That's a safety problem. Part of the problem is as you're all aware, Monmouth County line is only about less than an eighth of a mile from there, and it's a farm, basically a farm road, country road, 40, 45 mile an hour speed limit, and you're coming around a blind curve. If we could zoom out a little bit on that, please. Yeah, you're coming around a blind curve, and I'm concerned about the safety of my neighbors, the students that will be walking across that road. There is a sidewalk on I guess, the southbound side. But there is no crosswalks and again, you'll have a blind curve on the other side. So it concerns me that they're going to be, children walking across that area to the school, and drivers that are going to not have much time to react to those students going there. So I don't know how we're going to handle that. I'm not opposed to the school at all, but I am concerned about the pedestrian traffic and the fact that that is not a low-speed road. And there are no, on the school side, there are no there's no, sorry, not a curb.
Sidewalks and curbs, right.
There's no, it's a very narrow pull-out. There's really no room for a vehicle to get by if there's a vehicle stopped there for children. So I'm very concerned about that. And that hasn't been addressed, and I know it's not part of the planning board, but as long as we're talking about a limited number of vehicles going there, that won't present a traffic problem. But I do see I just don't see how students are going to safely get across that road unless that would require some sort of change to the county to put up adequate marking and crosswalks and change the speed limit.
What do you think about no sidewalks as proposed?
Well, it depends on where the students would cross. If we zoom in on that picture, There are sidewalks, as you can
For
see.
the record, the board secretary is putting up a Google Maps aerial image of the application, which will make part of the record.
As the board can see, there is a sidewalk on this side, on the southbound side, will come adjacent or directly across from the school. But there is, my concern is safety and both for the students and the drivers that are going to be coming around those tight curves. They haven't got much chance to see. It's not like.
Do you think the school, I'm sorry I missed your name, but do you think the
Bruce Balance.
Mr. Bounds, do you think the students really have a reason to be crossing the bridge?
Mr. Herzl said everybody would be walking there.
Oh, well, I'd like to say that I'm very happy with the neighborhood. The Orthodox Jewish neighbors of mine are, very, very polite, very quiet people. I love the addition to the neighborhood. But the walking, if there are no crossing guards, or there's no, if the children are going or the students are going unsupervised across that road, I have a real concern.
What's the age of the students going to the school? You know the age of the students going to the school?
They're high school students,
Which is what age?
14, 15?
14 to 17.
Crossing guards from the school, like they do in public schools.
There's no crosswalk there, though.
There's no crosswalk
Here's
there.
the intersection.
And like I said, there's no reduction in speed limit there right now. There's no markings.
Mr. Penza, just for the record, no students are gonna be driving to the school, right?
No, they're not old enough, no.
Okay,
That's-
they're not old enough, they're
No.
underage for
No.
that.
And again, no private vehicles will be bringing
Mr.
students.
Ballas, may I ask you a question respectfully? One house away is Rabbi Miller's school. Do you see anybody walking there? It's one house away is the other school that's there. Is there a problem over there with the kids walking?
I have not observed, I did observe, this is going to be for males, right?
Yes, the same
Okay.
thing as Rabbi Miller's school.
Yeah.
Same thing, they don't bother anyone in the neighborhood.
No, I had just recently seen 4 very young
I did the
girls
approval-
coming across that road.
No, no.
I'm not worried about bother, I'm worried
When I-
about safety.
I'm worried about safety. But Rabbi Miller has been in that look.
Hold on, let's move in on the intersection by the school that Mr. Tenter's talking about.
Take note, if you haven't seen it before, this is the new Google imagery here compared to the old Google imagery.
Okay.
And when you zoom in,
Oh, it gets funky.
it goes 3D.
Oh, wow, I'm getting, this is cool.
So go, yes, you could spin it around too. Go on the icon of the man.
How do I
The-
spin
No,
it?
the
Here?
north,
This?
the north and just rotate it, yeah. There we go. So
That's-
there's an intersection there.
Few houses over, sorry. And I can still bring you back out to it for the first time.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, see, what I was concerned about is the fact that you've got a fairly blind curve. You hit that straight, and then you've got another blind curve on the other side.
And where's the other school in that picture? I can't tell, I'm sorry.
You know,
Where's Rabbi Miller's school? I did that before this board.
I'm not sure which one it is.
All right, I think we've gone over this issue. Do you have anything else, sir?
No, I'm only concerned about, like I said,
Thank you
I
very
I
much.
assumed there would be walking
made
students.
it.
Very valid
Thank you
points.
very
The
much.
board is very interested in what you had to say.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Anybody else from the public would like to be heard? Please state your name for the record.
My name is Irving Heilbrunn.
Speak into the mic, we can't hear you.
My name is Irving Heilbrunn. I live in 18 Goldcrest Drive, Lakewood, New Jersey.
Sir, you've raised your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you'll give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please address your comments to the board.
Can you spell your name for the stenographer first, please?
Heilbrun is the last name. Irving is the first.
You live in the area?
Not to say, I'm only talking general
Okay, no
about,
problem.
I'm not sure if I'm not really a very good speaker, but what I like to talk about is
Do you want to
what
address this?
what the planning board and the zoning board has been doing till now, which I think is really not right. What I want to say is,
So John, I think that should be the public
Well,
portion.
do you have a comment addressed to this specific
well,
application?
not this specific, but you're building on my area 200,000. You're building where I live, 200,000 seat shopping center, I'm not even sure if we need any more shopping centers
Mr.
in
Helmer,
that
Mr.
place.
Helmer, I'm sorry, if you don't have any comments addressing this application, we're gonna have a public portion. Where you can say whatever you want after.
Oh, I
So
thought
let
it
us-
was,
I'm sorry, but.
no, I didn't know you were addressing
Yeah, so let's,
still.
let's finish
Okay.
this application, my apologies. We'll have a public portion afterwards, and you can say whatever you want.
Anybody from the public would
Sorry.
like to address this application? Seeing no one come forward? Yeah? Okay, please come forward. You would like to speak on this application? Seeing no one come forward? You would like to address? Okay, that'll be about the public portion. So we're closing it to the public right now.
Do you have a comment on this case? Okay.
No, so we're closing it to the public.
You'll get your chance in a few moments.
Okay.
Thank you, we're almost finished with the
Okay,
regular
Mr.
meeting.
Penza, would you like to make any closing statement?
Yes, firstly, I'd like to say hello to my Rebbe, who was my rabbi 49 years ago, of Feivel Cohen in Chaim Berlin. I haven't seen him in many, many years. So I just want to say hello,
How's your
Rebbe.
doing, sir?
He was my Rebbe in Chaim Berlin, in Beis Medrash, and I thank Hashem that I had the privilege of seeing my Rebbe. So out of respect, I apologize to you, but he was my teacher 49 years ago. The Rebbe's very young. But I'm here to tell you that, firstly, that this application is extremely limited on its scope. What we're here for tonight for is a change of use. I helped draft this legislation when it was put in. The purpose was that we put it in because before this legislation was through, all you had to do was take a piece of paper, go over to the zoning officer, and she would issue your approval. The comment was, you can do that, but why not let the neighbors know so they have a way to come in and see about it? So the purpose of this tonight is to let the neighbors know that we're a neighbor that's here. It's a limited in scope, and here, especially, it's more limited than usual because we don't intend to do anything outside. Everything is internally. It's just a matter of moving walls aside of where the bedrooms and converting that into classrooms. So this is a very limited application. And I welcome Mr. Balance's fear for safety, and I welcome to come and talk. Rabbi Pashkis, who's the dean, is here. He's a very noted scholar, and he cares about his students, and he's right here. And when we finish the meeting, I would like to introduce him, and if he sees something, we should make bread together as a conforming application, and if he sees something, we are also concerned about the safety. We also care about the kids, and maybe we can learn from him how to make a more safe area. So since there's no variances involved and we're conforming, I ask you to approve this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have a motion? This application? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mrs. DeGraffos? Yes. Mr. Franklin?
No.
Mr. Hipperson? Yes. Mr. Flansbrough?
Yes.
Mr. Herzl?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember your order. Mr. Fallman?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberger?
Yes.
And Mr. Patillo?
No.
Thank you very much.
And I presume that has the limitation on the number of students?
Correct.
42 maximum?
Or what the code,
Or
what the code.
if it's lower, building,
Whatever the code is, subject to outside of the agencies.
no sidewalks?
And no
Sidewalks are not
trailers.
required,
And no
trails.
trailers.
Any change outside we have to do is come back.
The
Mr.
time
Coleman has
frame.
something to say about sidewalks?
No, the time frame. I think Brian testified that between 3 and 4 years.
Well, that's the thing, if it's not a condition, it could be 30 or 40 years, it depends on
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
come back to the
that's
site
enough.
plan. There's no requirement that they put in sidewalks.
We can go back on it.
Okay, that was the motion, now I asked
Yeah.
for sidewalks, their application was without sidewalks, so that's what was approved. Unless you want to
They have to come back. Any change, they have to come back, and then they have to decide. Okay.
Thank you very much.
We have correspondence. We have two correspondence.
Correspondence, the first is SD 2157 from Melvin Berger. The applicant is requesting an additional lot coverage variance or clarification on the lot coverage of the previous subdivision approval.
Why is it not a,
We've already approved and didn't ask for a lot coverage variance, now they want to add it in.
I don't think so.
This board wouldn't have jurisdiction if it were new applications just for a lot coverage variance, that would go to the zoning board, so they're under correspondence.
So they already had
They have a subdivision approval, they would like to add in a lot coverage variance.
How did they get it? Sorry.
Mr. Schmuckman, was this your correspondence, you correspondence at the bottom of your file?
Yes.
Mr. Goldberger?
You're gonna add in a height and a,
Adding it into an older approval?
Sorry, but we were,
what do you mean you're just gonna add in a lot of?
but Glenn will discuss it, nothing.
Everybody's escaping. Okay, it's late. Glenn, you can do it fast?
I'll discuss it while Glenn gets to the page. It was more of an issue of when they updated the zoning to add 5% lot coverage in every zone about 2 years ago. It seems that according to Fran, they may have missed one's the single family in this zone. This is it's a funny zone. It's a very small area on Forest Avenue and like Second and Third
Was this
Street.
variance requested or granted, or?
No, it's in the ROP zone.
But
How do you,
did you request
You have to notice.
No, but we noticed for this tonight. We did notice for now.
how do you change a
But that's
previous?
the Board of Adjustment application.
No, no.
Building coverage variance.
No, we got the subdivision,
Right.
and we missed one variance.
But did you ask for it?
Not when we were here a month ago. Correct. We haven't even, I don't think we've even had the resolution adopted on this application.
Theoretically, still
Correct.
have jurisdiction, you notice for this?
Yes, we did.
We did.
All right.
John, you feel we could go,
Well, I don't know yet.
what? Sounds weird.
Well, let's hear what he has to say for 2 minutes.
In the ROP zone, as in with all the other zones, last year, you raised the total lot coverage, because you now added the decks in, and you increased everything by 5%. And when the ROP zone was done, they increased the lot coverage by the 5%, just like they did for everything else for duplexes, but they didn't do it for the single-family houses. So we need 30% lot coverage, which would be normal with the way everything was increased, but we're limited to 25% because that's what the ordinance says. It was just never, something that even Fran admits, it was overlooked. You know, every other lot coverage.
Where's this located?
It's on the corner of Second and Route 9.
Is there a building there now?
There was a medical office there that was torn down.
So you have a blank slate?
Is that for the bank?
It was the
approved
one
for a
that was,
bank?
it was approved for a bank.
Okay, it's
They
vacant
couldn't-
land right now.
Right, it's vacant land because they couldn't find a bank that was interested in that corner, so we've come back.
And right now, you're trying to build bigger on that lot.
On the one single-family lot, just because of the size of the lot, we,
I have a little bit of an idea.
The building coverage required by the ordinance?
because it's not in keeping with the size of all the other houses that are on the block.
That's not something you forget when working in between. I mean, you need positive and negative criteria
Mr.
for that.
Lyons, what are I'm sorry, John, to cut you off, but I think as a quicker solution that would answer my question is, what is the single-family lot area requirement in the ROP?
10,000 square feet.
And in the R10 zone, where 10,000 square feet is required for single families, what's the R10 zone permit for coverage?
30%.
And this zone currently only permits 25%?
Yes,
And I
that's
believe
what,
it was an oversight.
that's what I was saying, it was left out. So we can't go back and amend the ordinance that the town
But
adopted.
you could
at this
vacate your approval and get it reapproved with this variance. How do you go
Couldn't come
back?
for a brand-new approval just to add in that
How do you
variance.
change an approval?
Well, that's why we're here. We're indicating that
We can change it.
it was overlooked because the township didn't revise the zone accordingly. We thought it was 30%.
Revise this home.
Okay, John, what do you feel?
I
You can
I
listen to it or
personally
not?
don't feel comfortable saying what the town should have done and shouldn't have done. If the town wants to do, let the town do it. If not, not. I mean, I can't, I can't assume something was left out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, when you say it was an oversight, Al, you mean on the part of the ordinance or part on the application?
A part of the ordinance, when it was written to increase the permitted lot coverage, the town attempted to do it across the board for all residential uses by bumping them up in the residential zones by an additional 5%. This one appears to have been overlooked, given that single families are permitted in the R10 zone on 10,000 square foot lots with the 30% lot coverage. In this zone, 10,000 square foot lots, but only with 25% because they did not receive that 5% bump.
You know, I think that type of variance requires the correct proofs. You have to look at the overall plan, you have to.
Still a
I
variance,
think it's a
certainly.
variance. You know, did we do the resolution yet?
My understanding is it is written, when we reviewed it, we,
It's not adopted yet? Well, if it's not adopted, I mean, then reopen the case and do your proofs over, but I don't think you could just do it on correspondence. I mean, I think the board has to look at the positive and negative criteria. You have to see what's next door. You have to see why you can't build it within the conforming. We can't just say, well, the town made a mistake and adopt it.
I believe the resolution was adopted November 15th, and then the problem probably came
oh,
up
then the
afterwards.
problem came up when they went to get
So
their
the
building.
plans are not filed,
Probably
obviously.
resolution compliance review, Dave was looking at it and said your footprint's too big, and they said, oh, we thought we got that variance.
But if the map hasn't been filed, the board has still jurisdiction. You can come back here, but I think it's gotta be like an amended application.
I mean, you'd probably get it, but it's an amended
And
application.
that has been recently, you said, realistically, if you're asking for variances and you've noticed it in correspondence, it really shouldn't be put in. It should
The
be
problem
an
is I
amended
can't get,
application.
I think this is hard to comprehend and what the consequences
So I think they should come
are.
back with the next meeting.
Just come back, show it on the plans, make your testimony and,
Okay, which meeting are we advancing?
They'll need to submit an amended application and that gets scheduled accordingly.
Okay, and does they have to renotice then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you'll renotice, Glenn?
Thank you. No problem.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
I agree, but I get strong on
Okay, we have a second,
The next correspondence
Correspondence.
item is SP 2022AA. I believe this was a site plan exemption approval, similar to what we just looked at on the bridge. They just want to give an update to the board on when their anticipated construction is moving forward with the full site.
okay,
Is that incorrect?
yeah, I have to step down on this application, I cannot sit on this one.
Yes, Mr. Hertz is going to step down on this, and I'll let Mr. Flannery explain that if I explained it wrong.
No, that's correct, and it's really just an update. There was nothing in the approval of the site plan exemption that said you have to do it in 3 years, but the testimony at the time was that we expect it to be done in 3 years.
Do what?
There's an existing house, same as the last application you just heard, that they're using the existing house for a school while they prepare the site plan. Our office is working on the site plan, which we can't finish till the architect's office finishes up the architectural plans. That should all be submitted within the next 6 months, but if anybody in the board said, drove past it and said, well, they said it was gonna be done in 3 years, I didn't even realize it was 3
How
years.
much longer do you need?
Well, it's probably gonna be another year and a half before we.
Year and a half? You're working on the
Yes.
plans?
Where is this?
Well, a year and a half before we have an approved site plan. It's on Squonkam Road, across from where Tilton's junkyard used to be.
But you said you're working on the plans, why
Well, we're
can't?
working on the plans. We'll probably have an application submitted within the next 6 months.
Okay, so like.
And
we
and
could-
then, and then another year till we get, the resolution compliance and the county approval and everything else.
So basically, you want to be able to stay in the house for another year
And,
and keep a CO on it.
and I don't think we need any board action. This was done to be cautious so that nobody approached somebody on the board and said, well, I thought this was done within 3 years. The site plan exemption that was granted said they planted the, approved the site plan exemption.
I think it's a good thing that you're here, and I think the board could actually give another year, That's what I would suggest. Any questions from any board members?
Were you just talking about curb and sidewalk? Is that what we're talking
No, we're talking about
Staying in the house.
knocking down a house and putting up a real school.
They said they would do it
I'm
within,
sorry, I didn't know you.
they said they would knock down the house within 3 years.
It was an application similar to the one where you just heard, where there's a house there, they wanted to do the school in the house on a temporary basis, but the property was bought to put up a proper school.
I don't think that you need any sort of relief from the
Yeah.
board. I think they're really just here as a heads up to say, hey, we told you guys this and we need a little more time and we just wanted to let you know.
I
They
think
probably
we've-
want to keep their
We've
CO.
talked about this. You can impose whatever timeframes you want. Once they're in the building, they're in the building. So thank you very much, and that's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, this
Okay.
is a true correspondence item. They didn't need notice, they don't even really need approval
Yeah,
from
no.
you. There's no motion needed. Heads up.
And we've really stopped doing that anyway, because there's no point in doing it, so, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Public portion. Okay, public portion. Anybody from the public would like to be heard on any issue?
We're gonna have the public portion now.
Here's public. Okay. There's a public portion.
Yeah, but what was the case that they were here for? In the industrial
I
park?
think it was the Lakewood Shopping Center, it's been 22
I just want to alert the board to something and also ask the members who are here. I recognize a lot of you were here from the case that was 2 hours ago, and I'm sensing that you want to address the board on an application that has been put off. Please understand that the board is a quasi-judicial body. We have a due process requirement that we have to follow a fair procedure. And part of that procedure is if we can't hear cases when all the people involved in that case have left. That case was put off and was given a new date. So it's improper to come up and complain about that specific project, or say you're opposed to it or whatever, and I'm going to have to shut that down because you'll taint the consideration of the board because the other people aren't here to.
This is after we waited 3 hours?
Yeah.
Now you tell me now after we waited 3 hours?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. After we sat here for 3 hours, you tell us you
That's the law.
They could have had the same thing.
1 second. 1 second.
They
I think everybody just take your seat, calm down for 2 minutes.
If you want to address the board on general matters, if you want to say there's too much traffic in Lakewood, if you want to say that, whatever complaint you have about what the board has granted, whatever thing you think is wonderful that the board has or has not done, that's all fair game. I'm asking you to please respect the Constitution and the rights of everybody and don't address a particular application that's on the docket, okay?
Okay.
Some of you don't want to hear from you. I just want to try to keep it real. What I'm saying is that if you have a general matter, you can talk about it.
Can you reference an application?
But don't talk about an application that's pending before the board because I'm going to direct the board not to consider that. And you could jeopardize whatever decision the board makes in court. But whether they're here or not, it's not on the board's docket right now. It's also not fair to the board to address a case that's not on the docket. So,
It's a public portion.
I said,
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll make it fast because it's late.
Okay,
Please state your name.
my name is Sharon Applegrad, my legal name, and I live at 23 Washington Avenue in Pine River Village.
she's not required.
Oh, it's not required, okay.
But can you
Okay.
spell your last name for me, please?
APPLEGRAD. I really wanted to bring forth just in general terms. We moved to Pine River Village with the expectation of a scenic, quiet old age, if you want to call it. When we bought houses there, my assumption was the developer did get some benefits. We are paying extremely high taxes, which we're still wondering why we are paying extremely high taxes. I know that my house must be taxed at $13,500, but we decided that this is what we are doing to be part of a community that in our elder years, we would have a nice, scenic, quiet environment. This environment at this time, because of certain houses being built down the road, has become a little congested. At this point, I most probably would be better off walking down to reach Route 9 than taking my car, because I would be sitting, and that's one aspect. The second parameter is, for us at this time in our lives, we would like a certain quietness, and that was why we came here. We chose this site not to be surrounded by a lot of industrial areas being put up. Suburbia is part of that, besides being near our children, but it was one of our requests that we not have traffic, we not have loud noise. We wanted a quiet kind of living. At that time, we were aware that the area is eventually going to be built, I won't say in general, but we chose that so that we would have a quiet environment. The second thing is, I would like to represent myself, a little of my background, for you to understand. I am New York State and New Jersey licensed in regular education, special education. I've been a principal for 16 years. I'm an educational therapist, and I've done special education also. I am currently the on-site director of special education for Torres Ann. And part of our wanting a specific kind of area means that nothing can be brought to that area that will present a hangout, that will present an opportunity for us or our grandchildren primarily to have certain accesses to places that are not acceptable for us. I'm an educational therapist, and in my counseling of such, environment plays an extremely important part. And anything I'm not talking about anything specific, but anything that is going to be constructed on that site is going to have a social and emotional impact on us as the senior citizens, but also as our future generation of our children. We chose to move here. We chose to be near our children, but our children chose to be in an environment which would raise them in an emotionally safe environment. We ran away from the city. And in my experience in working with children, what children see, they many times adapt. And whatever is going to be built in that place, I want an assurance that my grandchildren will not be hanging around in the park, hanging around in any kind of entertainment center, hanging around in anything. We struggled. We packed up our whole lives and we moved here because we wanted a suburban, safe environment. If you listen to Paul Ryan or any of the other presidential people involved, they have talked about safety of community. So I am not making this a religious issue. I am making this an atmosphere
Thank you. You're
issue.
repeating yourself. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so the
We
only
get the
thing I would
point.
like to end with,
Yeah, please, it's late.
can I just end with one thing?
I think you've made your point.
Yeah,
Thank
you made your point,
Okay.
just repeating yourself.
Okay,
Okay,
no
thank
problem.
you.
Very good.
Anybody else in the public would like to be heard? Okay, Mr. Hillman?
Mr. Jackson, can they speak to general community issues that they're concerned about?
We're getting very dangerous because we're talking about a particular application that's pending. And you may be working against yourself because you're trying to go around the system by talking about a particular application in a very veiled manner. And how that's going to impact the board, who knows? Because it is very clear you're trying to talk about a particular application when you know you're not supposed to be doing that. You will get your chance to talk about that application.
But the chairman told us
Please,
for
sir, you're
2
speaking out
hours
of turn.
that we should hold off
Excuse
until
me.
this.
Excuse me, I said that anybody could speak in the public, any issue, but not about a particular application.
Okay, but I need that around.
Okay, but we understood, we heard everything. Okay, Rabbi Cohen.
Short number of community concerns.
Okay, Rabbi Cohen.
Firstly,
Please state your
I
name
thank the,
and your address. State your name and your address.
my name
please.
is Feivel Cohen. You need it spelled?
Sure.
Feivel, Cohen, Cohen.
Your address?
That's it. 24 Goldcrest Drive, Lakewood.
Okay.
Firstly, I thank the members of the board for having me speak. This question, which is before us, whether these new moves are well advised or not, on that main question, I have no opinion. What should be done is seek the opinion of a Jewish court of law, a Beis Din, which follows the dictates, the preferences that are covered in the Torah. That is our code of law. That should be the appropriate venue for this question. Let me correct myself. I said the appropriate venue. I meant to say the mandated venue for we Jews. They are the ones that have this responsibility
Rabbi,
and the ability.
it's very clear that you command a tremendous amount of mutual respect. The silence in this room is very impressive. Everyone's hanging on your every word. You were here for the earlier part of the meeting. These board members took an oath to affirm the Constitution of the state of New Jersey and the Constitution
Why don't you let
of the
me
States of
finish?
America. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Why don't you let me finish?
Please be quiet. Please be quiet.
Why don't you let me finish?
Please be quiet, or I'll close the meeting.
I'm asking you to please respect the regulations and the law that this.
Why don't you let me finish? You don't know what I'm going to say next. Why don't you have a little patience and wait till I finish?
Everybody needs to be quiet. We're gonna
And
give a
save
couple
all
more
this
minutes for the
time.
rabbi. Please. No more noise from the rabbi. We're gonna give a couple more minutes for the rabbi,
You have
that's
a
it.
4-minute timer.
Obviously,
You have to bring back the next meeting. You have the timer.
obviously, or maybe not so obvious, is that the Jewish court of law will, at times, quite often, seek the assistance of other experts in whatever field they feel that they need direction. They will go to professionals in whatever field they're falling short in their own knowledge. And they will follow those directions. And certainly, also, in such a case as this, where so much depends on knowledge of the secular law, which you fine people, members of the board, seem to be so well informed. And I don't even understand the meaning of certain words. I'm not a member of a Beis Din, by the way. I'm just an ordinary homeowner in PRV, just opposite from where this shopping center and so on will be based. But it's every Jew's obligation to follow the Torah law. And certainly, that court of law which they have chosen and which has agreed to take the case, so to speak, will be in consultation with the members of this board and the members of the outlying villages also, which are very concerned with the outcome of this issue. I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public would like to be heard? No. I'll give you 2 minutes. It's very late. You're supposed to close. I'll be very quick and then we're closing it. We're supposed to close 9 o'clock. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, please come to the podium.
Okay, I just want to say that,
Can I have your full name?
oh, Rochelle
Please state your
Ripp,
name.
Rachelle
And your address.
2 Gold Crest Drive.
What?
Okay, I was doing some research on notification for any kind of hearing or discussion on any matter at all.
Right.
And what I came upon was, besides the mailings that are supposed to go out to people within 200 feet
Feet
of
of
the,
the-
of any development, of
Right.
any new development, that's a pretty limited area when you think about it, especially if there's a large road in between.
I think it also gets.
That's number
in the
one. But
newspaper.
that's really not my biggest issue, is that there was something else maybe that you could address. Because one of the other ways that we're supposed to be able to find, the public should find out about these things, is via the ads in newspapers.
Right. It's supposed
And
to
I
be-
noticed that the only place that you require ads to be placed is in the Asbury Park Press and the Tri-Town News. Now, if you know a lot about the Lakewood.
I'm sorry, and I do not intend to cut you off, I just want to give you a little bit of extra information. The
Yeah.
township committee actually designates the township newspapers for notification.
Oh, 'cause
as
I-
those 2 newspapers, so that would not be up to the board.
It would not be up to the board.
Township
Okay, so
committee
I'm
actually
making
makes
a general suggestion that this is not very practical
to the
for
township
this
committee.
community, because we're not gonna find out anything
You have to say
about
that to
any
the township
hearing
committee.
about that, like that.
You'd have to go to a township committee meeting and bring it up over there.
That's a state law?
We actually have the Lakewood shopper right here. Let's put it in this paper.
Okay.
thanks.
We didn't find out, a lot of us, till
Okay, thank
last
you.
night, and that wasn't the very, well, doesn't give us a lot of time to respond.
Okay. I see that you came. I heard about it.
We tried.
Yeah.
But
Okay, thank
it's
you.
not that efficient that way.
Okay, you should come
Thank
back
you.
by the next meeting and then everybody can speak. at the
Okay,
next meeting.
thank you.
Pay the bills?
Okay.
Move.
Second.
Second, Bill? Okay.
Mr. Havlik, okay, make it quick, please. Mr. Havlik. No, you don't have to be sworn in, you don't have to be sworn in.
Bill, we're listening, go ahead.
Bill, we're listening.
We're listening.
I'll keep this as generic as possible. When people purchase homes in Lakewood, they come here for a reason. They come for the suburban area, they come for the knowledge that they're in a safe, comfortable zone. They select the neighborhood that they want to live in, because they want to raise their children and have their grandchildren, and be sure that they're all safe. And they're wise enough to look around to the neighborhood, in the extended neighborhoods, and see who else is there. Everyone had the expectation that in Cedar Bridge Development, there were going to be corporate offices, and that's a good use. But when we see applications for shopping centers, it changes the nature of what is across the street from you. It's not the same place that you bought into. Your investment is already made. You own the home. But what happened is the neighborhood then changed to something that you never expected, never anticipated when you bought your home. But now, a new application comes in to say, we're going to make this a shopping center. Had they known this before buying the home, they probably would not have bought there. It's unfair. And this is what these people were saying, and they have every right in the world to say it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Havlik. Thank you. Okay, I'll close it to the public.
Motion to adjourn?
No, we have approval of minutes.
Move. Second.
Okay. Approval of bills.
Move. Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.